across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I absolutely promise to play your message out. It is Tuesday, July the 28th. Here's what's coming up. Behind the blinding smokescreen of King Andy's blizzard of ideological socialist policies he can't afford, the slow, inexorable drumbeat of the escalating Islamification of Britain continues apace, virtually unnoticed. What is happening in this country when a girl is presented with a prestigious award for empowering women, covered head to foot in her burqa? What exactly is empowering to women about wearing a sinister black coverall outfit that makes them invisible, that reduces them to second-class citizens skipping to the beat of a religion run by men for men? 0344 499 1000. Meanwhile, over in France, the authorities scratch their heads, apparently utterly bemused by the motive behind a knife-wielding maniac stabbing 3 women, 1 pregnant, on the streets of Paris. The suspects announcing that Allah commanded him to do it, dismissed by the French Interior Minister as an incoherent statement. Really? Perhaps I can help our gullible friends across the channel. This madman, FYI, is an Islamic terrorist. Dare to say it, mon ami, or rest assured you will get more and more horror like this throughout France. In what way does willfully avoiding the dangerous truth keep people safe? 0344 499 1000. In other news, finally, King Andy deigns to mention the migrant crisis. It took him a whole week to address the issue that concerns Brits the most, but I guess better late than never. So far, so good. But sadly, what the new PM had to say was terrifying. Nothing to see here, no need to do anything. Labour's plan to stop the boats is working fantastically well. This dreadful drivel after nearly 1,000 foreigners crossed the channel illegally in Burnham's first few days. The plan, such as it is, definitely is not working. But this guy, Andy Burnham, is going to gaslight us and assure us that it is. Where does that get us? Where will that get us? 0344 499 1000. Also on today's action-packed show, Burnham's bizarre attachment to Starmer's wildly unpopular Chagos Islands giveaway. He's ditched everything and everyone from Starmer's stupefying reign of incompetence. Why is he sticking with the Chagos debacle? 0344 499 1000. Plus, a massive armed police guard is deployed to protect Britain's biggest pride event in Brighton this weekend. But naturally, no one will say why. It's actually to protect gay people from homophobic Islamic terrorists after one of these medieval throwbacks drove into Berlin's Pride Parade, killing 1 victim and maiming many more. More of this strange self-deception that we're all indulging in. Don't mention Islam. Don't mention Islamic terrorism. Don't mention the Muslims. Let's pretend they're not there. Let's pretend Islamification isn't happening. Let's pretend a man that shouted, Allah commanded me to do it, wasn't an Islamic fanatic when he stabbed 3 women on the streets of Paris. The authorities there saying we're mystified as to why he did this. It's just It's bizarre, but it's also frightening. 0344 499 1000. And finally, the big news. Andy Burnham is leaving his dog Axel in the north because he wouldn't get along with Downing Street cat Larry. We're going to have a look at why dogs hate cats so much. I've had dogs all my life. They've all absolutely detested cats. Chasing them, want to kill them. They hate them, hate them, hate them. Why? Why is that? I never really stopped to think. Too busy trying to separate my dogs from the cats they were trying to kill. But seriously, why do dogs hate cats? We'll try to find out. 0344 499 1000. Perhaps you can explain all that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Tuesday afternoon together. Let's go over to our first guest. That is Talk's excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, so much to talk about here. I'm loving the why do dogs hate cats so much. I mean, maybe you've never tried actually bringing a dog and cat up together in the same house, because then they don't hate cats, but there's still a kind of wariness, I think. Yeah. Our cat used to stop the dog from going upstairs. The cat would just sit on the landing and the dog would just not dare go past the cat. It was hilarious.
Yeah, most of my dogs, while they hate cats, if the cats stand up for themselves, they don't know what to do. And in fact, most of my dogs, to sort of widen it out a bit, I've had dogs ever since I was a kid, always had a dog. They sort of hate every other kind of animal. They just don't like other species. Or at least, put it this way, they're triggered by other species. They feel that every time they see a different kind of animal, they must howl, bark, growl and make a complete scene. We will investigate this important issue later in the show. But let's talk about something far more important. You alerted me to this. It's frankly bizarre. The Lancashire Football Association been posting proudly on social media that one of their ladies, who's affiliated to the Lancashire Football Association, has won a prestigious British Citizens Award for her work in helping to empower women. So far, so good. But the pictures that they post, her name is Khadija Patel, getting a British Citizens Award, honouring her for the recognition of her work empowering women. And yet there she is, head to foot in a coverall burqa. All you can see is two of her eyes. I mean, I barely know what to say. I mean, I've got nothing against Khadija Patel, and I'm sure she's a great woman and she does great work up at the Crims Youth Club in Bolton. But don't tell me that someone dressed like that is empowering women or has the right to receive an award for empowering women. I think the burqa achieves the very opposite of empowering women. It makes them invisible. It makes them second-class citizens to men in a religion that is run by men for men. But it is our recognition of her recognition that makes this all the more bizarre. Some grinning guy handing her this award, as if there's nothing to see here. This is really bizarre, really strange, slightly sinister, and I think it speaks to those who harbour growing fears to the Islamification of Britain.
When I first saw this, Kev, I actually thought it was a joke. And unfortunately, it isn't a joke. It is all too real. This is modern Britain, apparently. And to reduce people who have concerns about it to haters, and to say that anyone who questions whether this quite gets things right is directing hatred towards the woman concerned, is to completely miss the point, and quite deliberately so, I think. I feel very, very concerned about it, but that doesn't mean I feel any hatred towards the woman. She's clearly been doing great work in her community, and most people could look up to her for the community spirit that she's showing. But to say that what she's doing empowers women, I think is a complete contradiction in terms. Women cannot be empowered if you can't see who they are and what they're doing. The only reason we know that's Khadija and her fine work is because some man has told us so. We don't know who is behind that burqa or anything about them without having been told in a different way. And I simply don't think in Britain that the burqa is compatible with female empowerment. Honestly, I don't think it's compatible with empowering women in any other country, but I'm not here to talk about other countries. A number of people online have said, well, look, you live in the Middle East, you live in a country in the UAE where there are lots of people wearing these garments. Well, the answer to that is, yes, I do choose to live in the Middle East. I've got nothing against Muslims. I literally live in a Muslim country. Yeah. I see very few women in the UAE, very few dressed like this. But in any case, that's their country, their culture. We're on here on Talk talking about the UK. And honestly, I find it really difficult to see that this is an award, a British Citizen Award. Now, technically, of course, she's a British citizen. No argument with that. She was born in Britain. But how British is it to wear the burqa, for women to be in this type of attire? I just don't think it's compatible.
Yeah, her name is Khadija Patel. You're quite right, Isabel. You know, I'm very loath in it. It's not about her. And you know, my attitude to women wearing the burqa, they often say, well, it's my life. I've got a right to choose what apparel I wear. And I'm sort of hip to that, except for I need further clarification, explanation as to why they're wearing this burqa. Is it for women or is it for the men who run the Islamic religion? Because it is a man's religion run by men, for men. Women get a seat at the back if they're lucky. So when they say they've got a right to wear what they like, I think to an extent that is true. But I'm sceptical about the reasons they're wearing this awful outfit, if you ask me. Now, earlier today, our reporter Samara Gill did actually speak to Khadija Patel. We're going to play that full interview a little later in the show, but here's a little snippet of what Khadija Patel had to say.
The criticism has been just a couple comments that I got from online. It says, women who wear the niqab are forced to by their families. You can't be a role model for girls if they can't even see your face. How can you coach sport while wearing a niqab? The niqab is the opposite of women's rights. Sarah Pochin of Reform UK has called for a ban of the burqa and I guess in turn the niqab.
I don't think there should be a ban. There should just have people shouldn't be forced to wear it. People shouldn't be forced to not to wear it. It's a personal choice. And like I said, it shouldn't define who you are, what you do. I'm contributing to society, to the British values of my country whilst wearing it, and I don't see why that's a problem for some people.
Well, look, she does seem like I'm uncomfortable about putting her in the frame. It's not her fault, but you know, it is more. You can't just say it's my choice to wear this. I say it's wrong that women have to wear this. I say it makes them invisible. I say it makes them second-class citizens. I don't like that. I think as a nation we should follow France and, by the way, several Muslim countries like Tunisia by banning the burqa. Muslim countries ban the burqa, or the niqab in this case. France has done so. So it's more than just a woman saying I've got a right to choose what I want to wear. It's about a society that doesn't like that, and more to the point, it's about a society that is going to ask questions about security. How do we know you're who you say you are? Well, how do we identify you when you walk into a bank, etc., etc.? Passport control, so on and so forth. It is just not practical, and I don't think it is appropriate in modern Britain.
How can you not be partially defined by that outfit? You know, she said she doesn't want to be identified by that outfit, but it's precisely doing that by taking away all other identifying features. You literally can't see anything except a black cloak and some eyes, which means she is having to work an awful lot harder to be more than that outfit. And good for her, she's done it, she's become more than that outfit. But the problem with those outfits is it does render all women the same. That's its design. It is precisely designed to reduce women to that level of invisibility. And it is impossible to be truly empowered when you're inside one of those things. I mean, quite literally, you can't be a proper competitive sportswoman wearing that. You don't see athletes sprinting around a track in that, and there are variations of it for sport, I accept that, but it's an incredibly limiting garment, and it is designed to be limiting. It is crushing of personality. It reduces identity to something uniform. And for me, I don't think it should have any part in our British culture. I don't think it reflects British values. And I don't like seeing it for that reason. I think it's demeaning to women in our country. For other countries, that's up to them. But we are concerned with our values. And there is something so jarring to me about a British Citizenship Award going to somebody whose interpretation of female empowerment seems to be compatible with wearing that. I don't think that's a good role model for our children.
As a nation, we should, in my view, state that we just don't like this. We believe in the equality of the sexes. We believe that women are equal to men, and therefore they shouldn't be forced to wear an outfit that reduces them to all looking the same and makes them all invisible. It reduces them to second-class citizens, and we, as a nation, should have the guts to say, no, that's not allowed.
I think I'd probably agree with you on that for the UK.
Well, let's move on. I just want to quickly get you on this. So you're staying with us over the break, aren't you? Yeah? I believe you are. I'll tell you what then, Isabel, let's go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more of this strangely compliant attitude we have towards Islam. We're going to talk about this French, a knife-wielding maniac on the streets of Paris who stabbed 3 women, including one who was pregnant. He was yelling, "It is Allah who commanded me to do this." The French authorities, in spite of that, have announced that they're not sure what the motive was. They believe he was just issuing a series of incoherent statements. Well, one of them was, "Allah commanded me to do this." That isn't incoherent. Why are they deliberately ignoring that? It's so strange. I'll talk to Isabel about that after the break. Stay where you are.
She says I look like Andy Burnham, so she's created a TikTok account. I'm Andy Burnham. Who have you been told in the past you look like?
I think compared to me, those two are heavyweight champions. I wouldn't put myself in such a muscular context. But Charles Hawtrey, I think, was one of the funniest actors. I loved his appearances in the Carry On films.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Roll up, roll up. King Andy's great giveaway continues apace. This is breaking news, folks. Parents on benefits, of course, parents on benefits, will be handed £4,500 a year if their children become apprentices. Ministers said the new bursaries were part of plans to create 50,000 new apprenticeships and stop school leavers falling into a life of benefits. Alongside the bursaries, grants worth £8,000 will be given to small and medium-sized businesses to take on apprentices. The combined cost of the new plans, which of course Andy doesn't have, the money he doesn't have, adds up to £1 billion. You can just imagine it in houses all over the country. I'm going to Oxford, Dad. No, you're not. You get your tool, but you're becoming a plumber. Oh, but I've got a place at Keble College, and you know, I'm going to read the classics. I can get a first colour. You get your tool, get ready. You're becoming a plumber. This is Andy's Britain. What industries are all these apprentices, all these electricians and carpenters and plumbers? What are they going to work in? Are they going to work in the dark satanic mills of the north and the coal mines that Andy Burnham seems to think still exists? We're in the TARDIS. This is a time machine, folks. We're going back to the dark days of the 70s because Andy hasn't noticed they're over. Unbelievable. Let's go back to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, quickly, let me get you on that. Not on Andy Burnham, but let me get you on what happened in Paris over the weekend. Again, it's one of these really strange, willful deflections of the truth to avoid saying what really happened. Now, this is a maniac in Paris with a knife. He stabbed 3 women, one of them pregnant. Now, the French authorities, including the French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez, were absolutely perplexed as to the reason for this. Why did he do it? Why did he do it? We just don't know. He came up with, apparently, according to Laurent Nunez, with a series of incoherent statements. It's such a mystery. One of the incoherent statements that he yelled was, "It is Allah who commanded me to do this."
Yeah.
So I mean, you can sympathise with the French authorities. I mean, there's no way that this guy is an Islamic terrorist. He is, of course, a loner with mental health issues. This willful avoidance of the obvious truth. This guy was an Islamic terrorist, but they dare not say it. As I said in my monologue, this will result, if they haven't got the guts to confront the dangerous truth, then they will get more and more of this on the streets of France all over the country. And so, by the way, will we in Britain.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? You know, from the point of view of the UK, a lot of this, I'm afraid, is heading our way. Quite literally, as we speak, there are people queuing to get on boats over to the UK, some of whom are from pretty extreme backgrounds where they have a very extreme interpretation of Islam, and I'm afraid they do not wish us well, and potentially quite the opposite. They may well have in mind to do quite significant harm. We don't know that we only know that when it's too late, but we can make a pretty sensible judgment given the kind of very troubled areas that some of these people are coming from. The French, it seems, have got a similar problem to our own authorities. They just don't want to admit what is staring them in the face. They don't want to call it by what it is. And I'm really concerned by this sort of new trend of dismissing all of these kind of instances as it being perpetrated by people with mental health.
Loners with mental health issues.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
we saw it with Anne
mental
Widdecombe, the police down there, going out of their way to deny the truth that this was clearly a politically motivated terrorist attack. They spent the weekend lying, including telling lies to the Prime Minister, telling Keir Starmer that it was a burglary gone wrong as far as they could work out, when they had full footage of what happened. Poor old Anne being beaten 21 times over the head with a hammer. They had that footage and they told us, looks like a burglary gone wrong, could have been a domestic accident, she might have fallen over. They told this to the Prime Minister. It was a lie.
And this is what happens. This is what is happening too much. I mean, by definition, if you go and bludgeon someone over the head with a hammer, someone you've never met and have no, as far as we know, no reason to have any kind of vendetta against, if you go marauding around the streets of Paris or Marseille or any other French city brandishing a knife, you probably do have mental health problems by definition. But that isn't an excuse or a reason why you're, or the only reason why you're doing it. Overlaid onto that are often political or religious explanations. And we can't just reduce everything to this person was a nutter. Yeah, they were a nutter. They were also other things, religious fanatics.
Exactly right. Before you go, Isabel, let me get you on the ongoing story of Nigel Farage and Reform UK's fury over Zach Polanski participating in a tweet which basically shows a fat bloke with a beard wearing a T-shirt with a guillotine on it saying, "We're only making plans for Nigel." Nigel Farage has reported Polanski to the police for this post, which he was affiliated to, which he says essentially threatens his life. Now, you could take this two ways. You could say that fat bloke with a beard and the silly glasses and the dim hat doesn't look like much to worry about. But in today's climate, I think following on from Anne Widdecombe, what we saw over the weekend in Germany, I think you have to take all of this stuff very seriously. I hope that the police aren't just saying they're taking it seriously. Why would you assume they haven't spoken to Zach Polanski yet? They ought to get him into the nick pretty quickly, shouldn't they?
I mean, that outfit was so gross, wasn't it? It's so low to wear something like that. And what I find so strange and ironic is that the hard left simply don't seem to see that they're exactly what they pretend that their political enemies are. They are so full of hatred that they can actually glorify an image of gallows and say, essentially suggesting that Nigel Farage should be hanged, go around propagating imagery like that while saying that those on the right of politics are bad people. How come they don't see the irony there? It's extraordinary that they don't see that. And, you know, I am really concerned. I know I've used that word a lot today. I suppose that's where we're at.
Yeah.
It does trouble me that we're still seeing so much violent rhetoric about the so-called far right, when actually often people are simply referring to the actual right of British politics, which is a very mainstream movement. And when you start talking about these things in the same breath and you're brandishing around placards that say things like smash the far right, the actual word smash has been used quite a lot on placards, and you're starting to say that parties like Reform are in that category, it doesn't take a great leap for the most fanatical people to actually go and put that into action.
Exactly right. As I say, I don't quite understand why Polanski hasn't been interviewed with the police by the police yet, and I hope they're not just paying lip service to this, because we can't have senior politicians, party leaders participating in that kind of threatening tweet. We really, oh, by the way, it wasn't Twitter, it was on Instagram, so we can't have those kind of threats from party leaders on social media. End of. Just before you finally go, Isabel, this is frightening. It's taken Andy Burnham 1 week, 7 days of being our King Andy, the unelected Prime Minister. It's taken him 7 days to finally mention the migrant crisis, the biggest concern of the British people, the #1 issue that concerns British people. He's been waffling on about devolution, mayors for every postcode, which statistically is the issue that concerns the British people the least. They couldn't care less about more mayors, more devolution, but that's all he goes on about. They care about the migrant crisis. He's taken a week to mention it. So far, so good. At least he's finally arrived at the party. Better late than never. But then you find out what he's got to say. It is terrifying. He says that numbers of crossings are dramatically down and Labour's plan to stop the boats is clearly working. This, during his first week, nearly 1,000 migrants crossed the channel illegally in inappropriately named small boats. One of them was so vast it had 165 passengers on it. So nearly 1,000 migrants crossed the channel in his first week. His first announcement is 7 days after taking power, and it is nothing to see here. Labour's plan to stop the boats is working a treat. No need to do anything about it. What, this guy, did you see him on Panorama last night, that Laura Kuenssberg interview? He is just an empty vessel. I mean, you know, quick fire wit, forget it. This guy is a master of slow fire wit. He's like the dim guy of the classroom. They should put a dunce's hat on him. He's really slow and thick. But saying the migrant crisis is fine, we don't need to do anything about it, that's an abrogation of duty.
That is an absolute nonsense. And I think August, I mean, if this weather goes on, August will be an absolutely bumper month for crossings. We do know that the pattern of crossings is changing somewhat, and there's been a brief period, there's been a short interlude where there have been less crossings. We're not entirely sure why that is. I think I can say with confidence it's not because the French police are actually stepping up and stopping anything. There may be something else going on here, but literally they are queuing as we speak. They are queuing as we speak. And I understand that the next couple of days is likely to see some very, very significant numbers coming over. Each of these people, we have no idea who they are, where they come from. We just know that they are breaking into our country, a small number of them, including lovely, poor, innocent children who should never be put in this dangerous situation, are genuinely fleeing terrible things. The rest are economic migrants or worse, including those from hostile states.
Exactly right, exactly right. And he's just gaslighting us, saying we don't need to do anything, the Labour plan is working. Not so as any of us noticed, Andy. Unbelievable. But very good to talk to you, Isabel. Thank you so much. Isabel Oakeshott Talks international editor there. Next up, we'll talk to Khadija Khan, a journalist who was born in Pakistan, was beaten by her father because she didn't like wearing the burqa. She knows all about the burqa and the niqab, that kind of clothing for Muslim women. But we'll ask her if she thinks the burqa, the niqab, the head to foot covering with just a slit for the eyes. We'll ask Khadija if she thinks that outfit, that apparel is empowering to women. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go over to my next guest. She's journalist Khadija Khan. Welcome, Khadija.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show, Khadija. But we're going to talk about another Khadija. That's Khadija Patel. She's a young woman from Bolton. Clearly an impressive girl, but there's a problem here. She's just been awarded a British Citizens Award for her work in empowering women. Well, look, Samara Gill, our reporter, has interviewed her. You'll get the idea when you see this clip. This is Samara talking to Khadija. She's wearing exactly what she was wearing when she received a prestigious award in Britain for empowering women.
The criticism has been just a couple comments that I got from online. It says women who wear the niqab are forced to by their families. You can't be a role model for girls if they can't even see your face. How can you coach sport while wearing a niqab? The niqab is the opposite of women's rights. Sarah Pochin of Reform UK has called for a ban of the burqa and I guess in turn the niqab.
I don't think there should be a ban. There should just how people shouldn't be forced to wear it. People shouldn't be forced to not to wear it. It's a personal choice. And like I said, it shouldn't define who you are, what you do. I'm contributing to society, to the British values of my country whilst wearing it. And I don't see why that's a problem for some people.
What I think, Khadija, is that I don't think that the burqa, the niqab, I don't think it has anything to do with British values. I think it makes women invisible. I think it turns them into second-class citizens. I think it's a symbol of a religion run by men for men that reduces women to a subservient role. I don't like that outfit. I think as a nation we should ban it. That notwithstanding, she obviously does great work with young girls who want to play sport and stuff like that. I'm not having a go at her, but here she is at a British ceremony getting something called the British Citizens Award for her work in empowering women. There she is, dressed head to foot in an outfit, and we don't even know it's her. There's something bizarre about that. What do you think of the niqab, of the burqa? Do you think Britain should think about banning it, Khadija?
Kevin, this Muslim woman, she has been applauded and appreciated by many people, including myself, for her accomplishment. But should this deter us from engaging in discourse about the attire and the misogynistic ideology it represents? I don't think so. The attire burqa that she's wearing is not just a benign piece of clothing. It serves as a tool, as you just said, as a tool of oppression that entrenches patriarchal and misogynistic doctrine, undermining women's rights. And since this event is being celebrated, particularly as a celebration of inspiration and empowerment for women and girls, I think it is fair ground to have a discussion about the image of a woman in Black religious garb. I'm sorry, I have used the word image because this is all I can see in that photo or in that video. No individuality, no identity, no existence of a woman. And this is precisely what this attire represents, the erosion of brilliant women like Khadija Patel. And it does raise questions about its compatibility with the ideals of gender equality, which are so deeply rooted in British society. Many find it strikingly ironic that this particular attire serves as a deterrence and as a tool to undermine women's empowerment that it proposed to support. So I think whether it is for religious reason, cultural preservation, or coercive control, it is always imposed, dictated, and instructed by men. Yeah. And it allows them to judge a woman's character according to the length of her clothing. I think this is disturbing and bizarre mindset.
Khadija, tell me what happened to you when you were in Pakistan, when you rebelled against the idea of wearing these kind of clothes, and your father didn't take kindly to it, did he?
I was a school-going girl, and my father, he bought some colorful hijabs for me, and he wanted me to wear it with my other sisters. And we did wear it for some days, but as any other, normal child, we just, we grew bored,
Didn't like it.
Attire. We didn't want to wear it anymore. And we wanted to just take it off. And when I tried to take it off, my father, he became infuriated violated, and he explained that to me very sternly and rather aggressively, I would say, that you cannot just take it off like this. It is a part of your religious identity. It is part of you as a woman. You cannot just take it off, because in this attire is it is bundled with the honor of your family and your religion. You cannot just take it off casually. And then I started wearing it again. But then my mother, she confronted my father. She pulled that hijab off my head and she told my father that my girls are not going to wear it. I did not give birth to a slave. This was the sentence that my mother said to my father, and I still remember it.
Amazing. That is amazing. I was going to. It speaks to what I was going to ask you, because you know, because it puts me into a quandary when I hear people like Khadija Patel and other Muslim women, impressive Muslim women, saying, "Look, you know, it's my choice what I wear. You know, I have the choice. You know, it's up to me what I wear." Now that makes me think, well, yeah, it's everybody's right, within reason, to wear what they want to, what they choose to wear, and they say it's my choice. So my question to you is, let's examine when they say my choice. What causes women to say it's their choice, Muslim women? What causes them to say this? Is this the oppression of men, the threat potentially of violence by men if they don't wear this outfit? What causes women to say, I want to wear this?
As my father tried to do with me, he started it when I was a young girl. It happens like that girls, little girls, they are made to wear this hijab, and then it progresses as they grow up to burqa and niqab, and that this becomes a part of their individuality. Now, I would like to say that whether it is for religious reasons or cultural preservation or coercive control, it is always dictated, imposed, and instructed by men, allowing them to judge women's character according to the length of her dress. And any defiance risks labels such as disobedient, vulgar, and whore. And in extreme cases, these girls, they face unabated violence, and sometimes, unfortunately, they are killed by their own family members. And this doesn't only happen in Muslim majority countries like Pakistan. It also happens in 21st
So some of the women here,
democratic Western countries. And I'm sorry, Khadija, you might be one of those individuals who claim to wear it out of choice, but there are women, millions of women around the world and here in this country, girls and women who are forced to wear it, and they are at the risk of being abused.
So they're wearing it because they're scared. They're wearing it due to
their family members.
They're wearing it due to fear.
Speak for them.
They're wearing it due to fear.
Yes, exactly. It's a brainwashing. It's a indoctrination. It's a fear of life. I mean, I am going to continue to speak up for those women and girls who don't have any avenue to voice their concerns, and they suffer in silence. Whether you accuse me of Islamophobia and other people, they accuse me of Islamophobia, I'm not going to back down. I'm going to continue talking about this attire, because criticizing this religious attire or religion itself is not akin to anti-Muslim bigotry. This attire, as I said, is not a benign piece of clothing. It comes with inherently misogynistic ideology, and women who refuse to wear this attire, girls who refuse to wear this attire, they face repercussions, fatal repercussions. So I think as a society, we have all rights to talk about something that is not compatible with gender equality, with the ideals of gender equality that we espouse as a society.
Yeah, absolutely right, Khadija. We do need to confront it. We need to start talking about this thing, and people like yourself certainly help in that endeavour. It's great to have you on the show, as always. Thank you so much. Khadija Khan, a brilliant journalist there, saying that she knows this stuff. It happened to her. A lot of women, Muslim women, wear the burqa, the niqab, because they're frightened, because of the repercussions that may happen against them if they defy the instruction of their religion. Khadija Patel, the woman who won the Empowering Women Award while wearing a niqab, I don't know. She says she's got the right to wear what she likes. I suppose she has to an extent, but if she was in France, she wouldn't have the right to wear it. Maybe we need to become a country that bans the burqa and the niqab too. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Next up, after the break, we're going to talk to Shadow Defence Minister Marc Francois about the Chagos giveaways, which so Andy Burnham comes into power, ditches everything about Starmer, everything and everyone, but seems to retain a kind of emotional attachment to Starmer's least popular policy, which was to give away the Chagos Islands to China's best friend, Mauritius. I wonder why that is. We'll talk to Marc Francois about that after this break. Stay exactly where you are.
She says I look like Andy Burnham, so she's created a TikTok account. I'm Andy Burnham. Who have you been told in the past you look like?
I think compared to me, those two are heavyweight champions. I wouldn't put myself in such a muscular context, but Charles Hawtrey, I think, was one of the funniest actors. I loved his appearances in the Carry On films.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to Shadow Defence Minister, Conservative member for Rayleigh and Wickford, Marc Francois. Welcome, Marc.
Good afternoon, Kev.
Here's what confuses me. This guy Burnham, King Andy, waltzes into, or rather smashes into Downing Street like a wrecking ball, basically ditches all evidence of Starmerism. Everything and everyone to do with Keir Starmer and his policies gone. Everything gone. In some respects, that's a good thing, I think. But the one Starmer policy he seems to retain an emotional affection for is arguably Keir Starmer's least popular policy against stiff opposition. I think this was probably his least popular policy, and that is to give away the strategic Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean to China's best friend, Mauritius. This star-crossed plan is currently in the doldrums because it turns out there's a clause in our leasing agreement of the islands that mean we have to get approval from Donald Trump, the President of America, before we can give these islands away. away, and Donald Trump isn't about to give us that go-ahead. That notwithstanding, a guy called Robbie Bullock, the director of the Foreign Office's Overseas Territories Directorate, told the Attorney General of Mauritius last week that plans to give the Chagos to Mauritius were unlikely to change despite Britain's new leadership. Andy Burnham clearly despises everything Starmer ever did, apart from this policy. Why is that? Because the Attorney General, Richard Hermer person, he's a human rights idiot. He's gone. So he's the architect of this madness, which would, of course, also involve us mysteriously giving Mauritius £30 billion. No one quite knows why that is. So he's gone, Starmer's gone, everything else has gone from Starmer's regime, but Burnham still likes the idea of giving away the Chagos Islands. Is this, do you think, to do with Jonathan Powell, who was Blair's chief of staff when Burnham was health secretary in Blair's government all those years ago? Is he still skipping to Jonathan Powell's beat? Do you think that's what it is?
It might be. I mean, for Burnham to bring this back would be utter madness. So, as you say, I mean, we fought this tooth and nail in Parliament for a year. And in the course of those debates, and that's what Parliament is for, particularly when you're debating a treaty, it's to go into the detail. What does this clause mean? What does that clause mean? And we proved conclusively there is no legal threat to the sovereignty of those islands. We don't need to sign any agreement. They're ours and we could keep them. But the bill to ratify the treaty ran out of time at the end of the last session when Starmer was still Prime Minister, partly because, as you say, Trump, under a 1966 Anglo-American treaty, would need to physically sign the islands away, and he's refused to do it. So the whole thing effectively collapsed. The bill ran out of time. Burnham would be mad to bring this back and to pay £35 billion of British taxpayers' money in order to lease back some islands from a friend of China that actually belonged to us in the first place. The whole thing would be bonkers. It would be like paying Argentina £35 billion to lease back the Falkland Islands. It would be comparable to...
You'll know this, Mark. You must know this because us giving £35 billion to Mauritius is such a vast amount of money for that reasonably small country that all Mauritians would be spared income tax for the rest of their lives because we'd effectively be paying it. Where did they get that clause? Where did Hermer get hold of, let's not only give away these highly strategic islands to China's best friend, let's give them 35 billion quid as well. Where did he get that from?
Well, the actual figure, it's not plucked out of thin air. It comes from our own government actuaries department. Their job is to calculate long-term financial liabilities, like pensions, for instance. So it was the government's own financial experts that came up with the 35 billion. But once the public and the media got hold of that number, really, all support for this thing collapsed, other than in Mauritius, where, for reasons you just outlined, it's apparently a very popular policy.
Yeah, you can imagine. Imagine if someone had said to Britain, but there's this foreign country, they're going to give us so much money that all you Brits will never have to pay income tax at all, ever again. We'd like that, wouldn't we? We'd like that.
I think under Andy Burnham, we're going to be paying more tax, not less.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
So at the moment, the thing is effectively dead, because Trump has made it very plain, even if you revived it, he'd veto it. So it would be madness, because they'd have to, procedurally, they'd have to bring back a new bill to ratify the treaty. We'd have hours and hours of rows about it in Parliament all over again. The facts wouldn't have changed. It'd still be 35 billion. We should be spending that money on our own defence. The government's defence investment plan has got a $5 billion black hole in it, as we all now know.
Yeah.
We should be using money to plug that hole, not to give it to Mauritius. So the whole thing, I mean, Burnham would be absolutely bonkers to revive this.
Well, to be honest with you, Mark, so far he's showing all the signs of being bonkers enough to approve this. And to go back to my original point, I don't think there's anyone, now that Herma is thankfully gone, and of course Starmer, I don't think there's anyone in Westminster batting for the Chagos giveaways. The Chagosians have written to Burnham and saying, please honour our sovereignty, don't give us to Mauritius. So no one is backing this. I think the only person still batting for it is this mysterious old dinosaur, Jonathan Powell, who's still stalking the corridors of power. He's been there ever since Blair's administration. Andy Burnham was health secretary under Tony Blair, and I think he is still in awe of this Jonathan Powell character. He needs to tell Mr. Powell, your days are over, go away.
Well, clearly Starmer and Herma, who were human rights lawyers before they were politicians, as it were, they were attracted to this argument. They're gone. It is possible that Jonathan Powell still has some influence in this matter, but the facts don't change. You know, as we went through the debates in Parliament, every argument the government came up with for why these islands were legally at risk, we knocked down. The International Telecommunications Union, we destroyed that in debate. Then they said it was the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. We destroyed that in debate. Every argument they put forward, we took apart. And in the end, they gave up. So to try, you know, one thing we know about Andy Burnham is he likes to make high-profile announcements, but he's not so good at saying how he's going to pay for them.
You can say
and the British public rightfully go, well, that sounds all right, mate, but how are you going to pay for that then? So we know how we'd pay for this. We'd have to give British taxpayers money, 35 billion quid's worth, so they can abolish income tax in Mauritius. Now, in Mauritius, this is a good idea. In the United Kingdom, it
is not a good idea, Mark. Mark, listen, I've got to go now, but thank you so much. Excellent stuff. Mark Francois there, Shadow Defence Minister. After the break, Philip Kisley. We'll go through some of the big stories of the day. You don't want to miss that. Stay there.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In a little while, Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective, will join me. Once again, it's the theme of this show is the way the authorities across the channel as well as here, around the Western world, just refuse to mention whether or not problems, whether or not attacks, terrorist incidents are Islamic. It's really getting strange. It's really getting bizarre, slightly sinister. So the biggest Pride event in Britain is in Brighton, as you wouldn't be surprised to hear. They've got their big Pride event this weekend. It's always a blockbuster. This weekend, though, they have suddenly garnered together massive armed police protection for this event. And they say, oh, because they must have the right to live their lives and to celebrate in this marvellous event. They must be allowed to. Yeah, well, totally agree. But why? Why suddenly this year have you got full armed police protection? Why is it? Well, they must be allowed to. It's a free country. This is a free demonstration. Yeah, but why? Never, ever do they get down to saying, well, what it is in Germany, a maniac drove into Berlin Pride last weekend, killed one victim, maimed many others. He was an Islamic terrorist. Islamic terrorists don't tend to be too kindly disposed towards homosexuals. They don't like them. They're medieval in their attitudes towards gay people. So the reason the police are being deployed in force to protect the Brighton Gay Pride event is this: in case they get attacked by Islamic terrorists trying to kill them. Nobody's saying that. We'll talk to Peter about that strange omission in the narrative. Honestly, we've got to start talking about the truth. Don't act like it's not happening. You can't just ignore it and it'll go away. If you ignore it, it'll get worse. And what we are doing all over the Western world is deliberately, willfully avoiding the problem of Islamification. And we need to talk about it. We need not to avoid it, which is what we're doing. It's pathetic, folks. Let's move on to my next guest. We'll go through some of the big stories of the day for the next 20-25 minutes or so with the senior fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Welcome, Philip.
Hi, Kev. Great to see you.
Good to have you on the show, as always. Want to play you a little video. This is a lady called Khadija Patel. She's been interviewed by our star reporter, Samara Gill. This is in the light of the fact that she's just been awarded a British Citizens Award for empowering women. She's a big noise in the world of women's sport, apparently, up in Bolton. Good for her. Empowering women. Empowering women. We'll show you a little picture of her collecting her award in a minute. But here she is in her Empowering Women outfit, talking to Samara Gill.
The criticism has been just a couple comments that I got from online. It says, women who wear the niqab are forced to by their families. You can't be a role model for girls if they can't even see your face. How can you coach sport while wearing a niqab? The niqab is the opposite of women's rights. Sarah Pochin of Reform UK has called for a ban of the burqa and I guess in turn the niqab.
I don't think there should be a ban. There should just how people shouldn't be forced to wear it. People shouldn't be forced to not to wear it. It's a personal choice. And like I said, it shouldn't define who you are, what you do. I'm contributing to society, to the British values of my country whilst wearing it. And I don't see why that's a problem for some people.
Well, two things there, Philip. I think we should interrogate what Khadija calls a personal choice. And what grounds are these personal choices by women to wear the burqa and the niqab being made? No. Is it that they're frightened of men? The point is, though, that the burqa, the niqab, achieves the very opposite of empowering women. And a woman being awarded an Empowering Women honour there she is, wearing that is frankly a sick joke. The niqab, the burqa, does not empower women. It reduces them to the status of second-class citizens. They are wearing that because of men, because their religion is a religion run by men, for men, in which women cook the food and have babies. So empowering women, this is nothing against Khadija Patel. She's obviously a great woman who does great work, but don't tell me that she, wearing that outfit, should be awarded an honour for empowering women. That's a sick joke.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, she's, as you say, she's obviously doing great work. She's doing great stuff for her community. She's passionate about sport and so on and so forth. I applaud all of that. But she says that this contraption doesn't define her. It totally defines her, right? It isn't an item of clothing either. It's a contraption. It's a religious tent that she's having to wear. And I hadn't heard her speak before that footage just then. I wasn't even sure that it was a woman because I could only see her eyes. I was just assuming that she is a woman, but I could only see her eyes. So this is a symbol of repression. I can't think of a more potent symbol of repression. It's a signifier. It's replete with meaning, and all of that meaning is anti-female, anti-woman. It's medieval. It's religious extremism. So this is, you were saying before that we were living in this bizarre fantasy world where we can't say what's going on and we can't tell the truth. I've just spoken the truth there, okay? I've just said precisely what I think. And I think we should be doing much more of that. This is, people are saying, oh, well, it's an item of, it isn't an item of clothing. I said before, it's a religious contraption. And that is what she's wearing. It totally defines her. And to say that this is empowering women is frankly absurd, but it's more than that. It's sinister because it really isn't. What it's doing is promoting religious extremism and putting women back, not decades, but centuries. And it is frightening.
I sense from this, Philip, that you believe it's time to ban the burqa, the niqab, in this country. The reason, it puts me into a quandary because I do, of course, agree that women, or men for that matter, we all have the right to decide what we wear within reason. That is a personal choice. However, as I say, before we accept women like Khadija Patel saying this is my choice, we need to interrogate what causes her to make that choice. And if it is a fear of the men who run the Islamic religion, then I don't think we should support that form of apparel. Frankly, I think we should follow France and we should ban the burqa, ban the niqab, because I don't think that our culture should in any way support anything that reduces women to the state of second-class citizens.
No, absolutely. I think the word we're looking for here is coercive. She has made a choice, but it's a coercive choice. And it's deep in her past. It's deep in her culture. She is not free as a woman to make a choice that goes beyond religion. That's the truth. Again, let's come back to truth because it's really important. But it's more than that, isn't it? The main problem we have in this country at the moment is Islamist fundamentalism, okay? Islamism is the political manifestation of Islam. We have a whole set of problems around Islam. So to suggest that we are allowing people to walk around in disguise is very problematic from a security point of view, but it's also problematic from a cultural point of view as well, and a societal point of view. You were saying before, how can you teach someone, I think, it was Samara was reading something out. How can you teach someone if you are not showing them your face? I've been in education for 25 years, and that connection between human beings, between individuals, that kind of contract, if you like, is so important, and it's about people. You are not seeing a person there, you are seeing a manifestation of religious extremism. And I go back to what I said at the beginning of this. I'm not having a go at her personally.
No, we're not. We're definitely not.
It really is important to emphasize that. But this is about culture. It's about much bigger questions, and it's about the future of women. If you think that contraption there is okay as the future for women of this country to wear that, then we are in real problems, and we really need to interrogate this. The problem is we can't have an open debate because we can't talk about Islam. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, this kind of mania about never mentioning Islam, never mentioning Muslims is becoming a serious scourge in this country and across the channel. I mean, in Paris, some guy running around stabbing women, shouting, "Allah commanded me to do this." The French Interior Minister announces it's a mystery as to why he did this.
Yeah,
we cannot work out the motive. He was shouting, "Allah commanded me to do this." Maybe, just maybe, I can help the French authorities, this guy was an Islamic terrorist.
Yeah, and this is, you know, if there was no problem here, we could talk about this all the time. The fact that we are not allowed to talk about it, or that the establishment, politicians, etc., will do the bizarrest kind of intellectual gymnastics to avoid it. You know, what was this caused by? It was caused by hatred. Really? Is that what it was caused? Yes, that's what it was. But can you be a bit more specific?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's the broader context of the far right. No, Islam.
It's just crazy that Kate Osborne blaming Reform UK for a Islamic terrorist driving into the gay pride event in Berlin. It was Reform UK's fault. The deflection that these lefties go to, the lengths they go to deflect away from the obvious truth is laughable. It's absolutely laughable. Talking of laughable, let's return to our Prime Minister, King Andy. He's just announced, by the way, that he's going to give £4,500 a year to every parent on benefits whose child becomes an apprentice. That's a really bizarre policy. Why should parents on benefits whose kids become apprentices be treated as differently to parents who aren't on benefits whose kids go on to become apprentices? It's going to cost us more than £1 billion, apparently, more from the ever-growing Andy Burnham magic money tree. He seriously just believes that money can always be found for everything. He's announced more than £2 billion worth of generous schemes, none of which he has a single penny to pay for. It's getting really alarming. He lives in a fantasy land. But what do you make of this? He's taken a week, 7 days since waltzing into Downing Street, to actually make his first comment on the issue that concerns British people the most. That's the migrant crisis. He's finally spoken up about it, which is about time. What he said, so you kind of think, oh, good, better late than never. So far, so good. Then you analyse what he's just said. It's remarkable. It's frightening. It's terrifying. He said, in terms of the migrant crisis, Labour's plan is working. There's no need to do anything. The small boats crossings are coming down. Labour's plan is working. Nothing to see here. He says this after 7 days in which nearly 1,000 migrants crossed the Channel illegally, 165 of them in one inappropriately named small boat, the biggest small boat ever, 165 on board. Nearly 1,000 illegal foreigners crossed the Channel unlawfully. As the migrant crisis gets worse, and our Prime Minister says Labour's plan is working, we are stopping the boats. Nothing to see here. What Labour plan? They haven't got one. This is worrying. This is terrifying. He's going to gaslight us, tell us there's nothing to worry about with the migrant crisis. Unbelievable.
Well, you think that this is going to be his strategy for the next 2 years now, don't you? And out of all of those illegals, you are only going to get about 7% who are going to be deported. That's it, 7%. So once they come here, essentially, we're saddled with them. King Andy here, you know, the mayor of Britain. It's great that, you know, his premiership has heralded the advent of the mega dinghy, hasn't it? You know, this is something new. This takes it to a new level of concern. Look at them pouring in there. And he just says, look, we are going to do nothing about it because we think it's okay. Again, it's a similar kind of thing. We're dealing with exactly the same kind of denial, because if they say for one moment, if they just are honest with us and say, look, we've got a real problem here, they are saying essentially that our strategy for the last 30 years, what we have worked for, open borders, multiculturalism, all of that stuff is not only wrong, it's harmful, it's dangerous, and we need to do something about it. In other words, we've got everything wrong. They can't say that, okay? They won't say that. And what you've got here is this kind of Walter Mitty kind of character who's playing out this semi-celebrity kind of dream that he's going from place to place and he's being Andy and it's all about him, and it doesn't seem to be rooted in reality. And nobody apart from this channel and one or two other channels are pushing back at all. The BBC are just worshipping him every step of the way. It's really concerning. And as I said before, we've got we've got the recess, and then it's going to be conference season. There isn't going to be the opportunity to really hold him to account, really hold his feet to the fire. And by the time we get to autumn and towards Christmas, then things are going to be really different. Things are going to be in even more dangerous form.
Yeah,
and he's going to be set there.
I was worried about this guy. I was thinking, there must be more to him than we've seen so far, these platitudes that people want to hear. Oh, the nice guy from North, who I've set up number 10 Downing Street in the North. Great, fantastic. I was thinking there must be more to him than this. So I sat down to watch the Panorama interview with him on the BBC last night.
And there isn't more to
Laura Kunsberg, and I'm afraid to say there isn't anything more to him. His solution to the NHS, the useless, chaotic, dysfunctional, incredibly, astronomically expensive NHS, is to spend a fortune on a new social care system, undevolving social care, taking it away from local councils that he seems to love so much, putting it in the hands of central government, spending an absolute fortune on social care. He says that will cure the ills of the NHS. No, it won't. Also, this... I think he's right to clamp down on Blair's nonsense about 50% of kids in this country going to university to do courses that will doom them to a life of unemployment because they're pathetic and pointless areas of academic endeavour. The David Beckham course and things like that. But Burnham's right to kick back against that. He says, I want to get more people into apprenticeships, into practical courses. I think he's right about that. But not to the extent he's proposing. As I said, he's now offering £4,500 a year to parents on benefits whose kids become apprentices. That seems to be prejudiced against people who bother to get a job. He said these new bursaries were part of plans to create 50,000 new apprenticeships and so on and so forth to prevent kids falling into a life of benefits. Where are all these jobs that he is creating? These new apprenticeships, plumbers, carpenters, electricians. Where are all these jobs? Does he still think the sort of dark satanic mills and the coal mines of the North still exist? We can get blokes in flat caps going to work with their sandwich boxes underneath their arms. I mean, I think this guy actually does have a vision of Britain as something out of the 1970s. There are still all these factories and production lines and, places of work that require skilled manual workers. I'm not sure there are anymore. Are you?
No, because no, we live in a post-industrial economy. We have done for decades, and these jobs just don't exist. The jobs that are there are taken by immigrants primarily, you know. So those you need to deal with mass immigration to begin with. Then you have to kind of kickstart the economy and think about it in a completely different way. As I say, we have a post-industrial service economy. They've been focusing on the creative industries and digital media for God knows how long, and now all of a sudden they just turn on a dime. It simply isn't going to work. But even when they're talking about innovation, even when they're talking about creating new jobs, even when they're talking about apprenticeships, this is the crazy thing, Kev. It's still framed in benefits culture.
Yeah.
Because they can't get beyond this sense that everybody's a victim and everybody needs paying for and everybody's delicate and it's all about identity politics. And you're not just someone who's looking to get a job, you're working class, so you must have all of these kind of issues. No, they're just kids. They should be out there. They should be changing the world and just doing what the hell they want, rather than mired in this suffocating narrative of you need benefits for this and you need benefits for that, and you're, you know, no doubt you're anxious and depressed and all the rest of it. It's really, really demoralizing to see even these new, and it's not the most exciting thing, is there? We've all
everything he's interested in is boring, you know. Social care, I mean, okay, it's important, but it's not very interesting. Devolution, have you ever heard of anything more boring than that? He is like one of these socialist guys. Nirvana for him is sitting around in a committee room above a pub talking about bureaucracy. Simple as that. Simple as that.
The summit of their ambition is £2 bus fares, for God's sake.
I know, yeah, the Mayor of Britain, you're exactly right. I've got to move on, though, Philip. Good to have you on the show. Great stuff. Thank you very much. That is the brilliant Philip Kisley from the New Culture Forum. Next in the studio, no, not next in the studio in a little while, Samara Gill, but next, Peter Blexley on the gay parade in Brighton, which will now be heavily guarded by armed police, but no one is saying why. Pete and I will try and answer the question, why is the gay pride parade in Brighton going to get serious armed police protection at the weekend? We'll answer the question because the authorities won't say. It's in case they get attacked by an Islamic terrorist, because Islamic terrorists don't like gay people. Yeah, there, I've said it. Oh, look, there's no lightning bolt from the skies. I've survived. Amazing. Pete and I will discuss that next. Stay tuned.
They are launching a legal bid to stop crime statistics linked to nationality from being released. And the Ministry of Justice are so desperate to make sure that we do not know the truth about just how bad it is when it comes to migrant crime, that they have decided, even though they didn't have money to do the FOI request, that they have got money to launch a legal bid.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This guy Burnham, where on earth is he getting his ideas from? Is it London Zoo or something like that? Oh, no, of course it wouldn't be London. Manchester Zoo. Has Manchester got a zoo? Do I care? Where is he getting his ideas from? This is ludicrous, this policy. Parents on benefits will be given £4,500 a year. That's getting on for 100 quid a week, isn't it? If their children become apprentices. This is part of a plan to create 50,000 new apprenticeships and stop school leavers falling into a life on benefits. Well, that's not fair. So if you've taken the trouble in your life to be employed, to get a job, to bring your family up, and one of your kids becomes an apprentice, you don't get this £4,500 a year because you're employed, because you've got a job. But if you're unemployed and you haven't got a job, you get £4,500 a year. That is two-tier Britain on steroids. Prejudice against people in work. This guy's a disaster, absolute disaster. And where are all these apprentices going to work? You know, he seems to think there are all these factories and dark satanic mills and, you know, 70s coal mines everywhere. No, Andy, the 70s are over. I know you loved them, but you really must come to terms with the fact it's 2026, it's not 1975 anymore, when you were 5 years old. Too young to appreciate what a disaster that decade that you love so much actually was. I'm not. I remember it. And to hell with you if you think that was a good decade. You need to read your history books a bit more. You needed to be there as an adult. I was. It was a disaster. A disaster, and he wants to go back there. 0344 499 1000. What is he on about? Two-tier Britain. Oh, if you're on benefits, £4,500 a year. No, if you're not, no. Yeah, we don't like you. You've got a job. Oh, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. Let's go over to my next guest. He is former Met Police Detective Peter Bleksley. Hi, Peter.
Good afternoon.
Let's talk about Brighton. Now, this weekend, it's the biggest Pride event in all of Britain, as you'd imagine, in Brighton. A lot of gay people live there. Hope they have a great time. It's quite an event. I've been to it a couple of times. Now, this weekend, though, it'll be slightly different. There will be hordes upon hordes of armed police officers protecting the people as they march through Brighton. A massive deployment of coppers to protect this event. For the safety of those taking part. The comments from the authorities are all about, you know, the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, the right of these gay people to march through Brighton. I totally agree with all of that. Not a single one of them mentions why there is this enormous police deployment underway for the first time ever. It's because last weekend in Berlin, an Islamic terrorist drove his car into the Berlin Pride event, killing one victim and maiming many others. That's why there's going to be police protection of the Gay Pride event in Brighton this weekend. Why do you think it is, Pete, that none of the authorities, the coppers, the local council, ministers, government people, why is it none of them are mentioning the actual reason for this sudden, very heavy police protection of Gay Pride in Brighton?
And perhaps we can all celebrate the fact that that Islamist terrorist was shot dead by the German police. Well done, them. Some years ago, you and I were having conversations on air about police officers dancing at Pride events. And I absolutely lambasted them because I said they were not being professional and they were not protecting the event. Police officers at Pride should be there to protect the event, protect the participants. In return for saying that, I was called a bigot, I was called a homophobe, and all other sorts of drivel. Well, sadly, last weekend, the events in Berlin absolutely proved me right. And now, of course, the British police will not be dancing this weekend at Pride. They will not be flouncing and prancing around. They will be doing what they should do, which is protect an event which is vulnerable. There are wicked, evil, horrible Islamist extremists that would like to wipe every person who's not a Muslim off the face of the earth. We saw that last weekend. We've seen it throughout history. And this event, quite rightfully, needs to be protected so that its participants can be as safe as they possibly can be. I expect to see snipers on rooftops, a lot more bollards brought in, movable bollards that can be placed to try as traffic prevention measures. And I sincerely hope this event goes off without anybody whatsoever coming to any harm.
Couldn't agree with you more. But, you know, what is strange, though, is the way, you know, the Sussex Police, local council, everyone, West Streeting, they're all saying, oh, it's absolutely, you know, gay pride in Brighton must be allowed to happen and the police must be allowed, but nobody's saying why. And the reason the police have to be deployed in great numbers this weekend is because of the threat of Islamic terrorism. I mean, Islamic extremists, you know, not only don't particularly appreciate non-Muslims, they certainly don't appreciate gay people. They don't like gays, they don't like homosexuals. They're homophobic to the extreme. And that's why this event needs special protection, and that's why that maniac drove into the gay pride event in Berlin last weekend. It is this strange silence on the part of the authorities about the reason the gay pride marchers in Brighton need protection that worries me. If we don't start talking about the truth, why we're having to do this, we're going to get more and more of it. There's no point in pretending that this threat doesn't exist. It's bizarre, I think, Peter.
Thank goodness that talk exists and that presenters like you and your colleagues will tell the truth. It is, of course, absolutely widely and well known about the threat that radical Islam poses to all of us. But in many regards, Burnham's predecessor, the lamentable Starmer, is to blame for this, because under his government, they brought in this anti-Muslim hostility definition, which is basically a blasphemy law through the back door. They don't want us talking about the truth. They bend over backwards to appease Muslims. And why do they do it? Because of the block vote that votes in their councillors, their MPs in all the cities where there are huge Muslim populations. And let's remember, there are 4 million and counting Muslim people in the UK. That is increasing. Mohammed has been the most popular boy's name in the UK for the last 3 years. They're on the increase. Generally speaking, a lot of them have very large families, and consequently, Islam is spreading throughout the UK. And with that goes inevitably the threat of radical Islam.
Yeah, and here's what we need to avoid, but it happens here all the time. I think it sort of happened with Anne Widdecombe's murder. In France, the weekend, a knife-wielding maniac ran through the streets of Paris and stabbed 3 women, one of them pregnant. The French Interior Minister, Laurent Nunez, after this shocking event, announced that it was just totally confusing, bemusing. We've no idea why he did it. We're trying to work it out. He issued a series of incoherent statements. It's a mystery as to why this guy did this. There he is, if you're watching on TV, running through Paris, causing mayhem. Among his incoherent statements, Pete, was the not particularly incoherent, "It is Allah who commanded me to do this." The French authorities still scratching their heads as to why he may have stabbed these women in Paris. It's because he's an Islamic terrorist, but they won't say it. This willful deflection away from the truth, this terror of mentioning Islamic terrorism, is going to cause more of it.
Yes, it will. I couldn't put that any better myself, and unless we call it out and call it out for what it is, and we have teachings in school that point out the threat and the danger of it, and that we have a police services the length and breadth of the country that move away from their wokery and their liberal ideology and their progressiveness, as they call it, and then stand up and say what exactly it is. And Islam is a threat to all of us. Radical Islamic elements live within it, sit within it, and want to wipe you, me, and all of your audience off the face of the earth. That's what it's about. And unless we call it out for what it is, things are going to get worse. And I fear for the safety of the nation, let alone Pride on Saturday, where I hope not one single soul gets harmed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I just think we have to talk about this. And there's this willful effort by the authorities to stamp down on any free discussion of the threat of Islamic terrorism, which is extremely real, particularly in Britain, and particularly in the light of what happened over last weekend in both Berlin and Paris. It is bizarre, Pete, but I agree with you. Let's hope that Brighton Pride goes ahead without any incidents, and they all have a great day. Pete, good to talk to you, as always. Thank you so much. Peter Blexley there, former Met Police detective. Next up, after the break, Samara Gill's Ace reporter will be in the studio. We're going to return to the issue of Khadija Patel, the young woman who won an award for empowering women while wearing a head-to-foot niqab, an item of clothing that I would contend does not empower women. In fact, it does the very opposite. Absolute lunacy. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're taking your calls in a minute. Get on the phone, 03444991000. Particularly interested to talk to you. Well, you know what we're talking about. Why is everybody so terrified of mentioning Islamic terrorism? I did mention it once, but I think I got away with it. It's ridiculous. The authorities are terrified of actually confronting the truth about what's going on here, in Berlin, in Paris. We've got to start talking about this, folks. Otherwise, as Peter Blexley says, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. You can't solve a problem by ignoring it and pretending it's not there. You've got to confront it. So we're going down the wrong alley there. Now, Samara Gill is in the studio. And, oh, by the way, let me know what you think about that. Give me a call, 03444991000. Should we ban the burqa? Should we ban the niqab in this country? What do you think about a woman getting an award for empowering women while wearing an item that reduces her to an invisible second-class citizen? The burqa, the niqab, whatever you think about it, it does not empower women. It achieves the opposite. It's a symbol of oppression, if you ask me. Should we ban it? 03444991000. Why won't the authorities mention Islamic terrorism? 03444991000. And two-tier Britain. Andy Burnham is right behind it. He's just announced today, a couple of hours ago, the most two-tier policy you could possibly imagine. If you're on benefits and your kid becomes an apprentice, Burnham's Britain government is going to give you £4,500 a year. If you're on benefits and your kid becomes an apprentice. If you're not on benefits, if you've made the massive mistake in socialist Britain of getting a job, of earning a living and paying for your family, you don't get that £4,500. Quite right. You know, you should punish people who go out to work, shouldn't you? That's what Andy Burnham's doing. I mean, have you ever heard anything more two-tier, more prejudiced against hard-working people than that? We will give £4,500 to people whose kids go out to become apprentices, but only if they're on benefits. If they're working, we're not giving them a penny. That's prejudice against people working. It's two-tier Britain. And by the way, where the hell are all these apprentices going to work? In the dark, satanic mills of the north and the coal mines that Andy still seems to think exists. I think he has a vision of Andy Cap Britain, a load of flat-cap blokes going to work with their metal sandwich boxes off to the factory and all that. Doesn't exist anymore, Andy.
Thank God.
It's ancient history. Thank God. Samara Gill is in the studio. We're going to go back to that story of the girl, the Khadija Patel, the lady wearing a full-on burqa, niqab, head to foot, can't see her, being awarded an empowering women honour while dressed head to foot in an outfit that doesn't empower women. What did you find Khadija Patel to be like, Samara?
Yeah, Kev, I spoke to her this morning and, you know, I booked her myself in terms of I sort of reached out, contacted her. She knows who I am. It's Googleable, not that I'm anyone, but, you know, she knows kind of my record of how I feel about this sort of thing. And she's very pleasant, and it was interesting to talk to her because I do feel like there's been so much internet fury about her and her receiving the award at the Palaces of Westminster and what it means. But I asked her about the fact that it is a suppressive garment, and here's what she said. The criticism has been just a couple comments that I got from online. It says women who wear the niqab are forced to by their families. You can't be a role model for girls if they can't even see your face. How can you coach sport while wearing a niqab? The niqab is the opposite of women's rights. Sarah Pochin of Reform UK has called for a ban of the burqa and I guess in turn the niqab.
I don't think there should be a ban. There should just have people, should it be forced to wear it? People shouldn't be forced to not to wear it. It's a personal choice. And like I said, it shouldn't define who you are, what you do. I'm contributing to society, to the British values of my country whilst wearing it. And I don't see why that's a problem for some people.
But you see, the thing is...
It's so confronting, though, isn't it, that visual?
But it does define her, doesn't it? I mean, you look at that defines her.
What upset me about that conversation, to be honest with you, Kev, is that she actually is an outstanding individual.
Yeah, no, I'm not having a go at her.
She's one of 6 daughters, and she got permission from her dad to go and play cricket at an oval, and she actually empowers others. And what I'm trying to say is it's actually the best of a bad situation whereby they are all being suppressed, and I guess she's trying to do what she can to get these girls out of their houses where they would be relegated to cooking, and she's trying to encourage them to go swimming, play sport, and be active within the community. But I don't
It doesn't work if she's wearing that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. I can't even imagine. Can you imagine in this weather? You know, we're talking about 35 degrees, playing cricket in a niqab. It's comical and it's horrible.
It's a medieval throwback, and you know, I think we have to seriously think about it in this country. Is it the sort of thing that we want to culturally approve of? An item of clothing, a garment, if you like, that suppresses women. It reduces them to second-class citizens. Women in Islam, it seems to me, are there to cook the food and have babies. it's a religion.
And she's trying to push back against that in her way.
Well, hardly, but it's not going to succeed while she's wearing that, is it?
Well, no. And actually, it's interesting. She was telling me during the interview that she decided to wear the niqab when she was in her 20s. She said some of her sisters don't wear it, and, you know, others in her community do. But the problem is what she represents is a more kind of liberalised version of some of the Islamic sects that are living within the country, where they can actually choose. I talked to her about communities where women don't have the choice and they have this thrust upon them.
Personal choice. It's up to you. People shouldn't feel that, you know, we're oppressed and we're being forced to wear anything, because we're not.
What about in communities where women are forced to hide themselves? There are communities in Britain that exist like that.
I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think anybody is forced to wear. Again, it's about educating. They may not have the knowledge or the education, and this is why I welcome conversations.
That's why I wanted to talk to you, because it's unfair that you're getting totally pummeled by criticism online and no one has reached out to you in order to talk to you. You're showing that they can do all these things, you know, while, I guess, respecting their religious beliefs.
I was saying earlier, Samara, to Philip Kisley, here's the deal. So I'm always torn about this, because I do think women have the right to wear whatever they want.
And you're a libertarian, you know?
I am a libertarian. Do whatever you want to do with your life, or dress like however you want to dress within reason, as long as it doesn't harm other people. That's my entire outlook about everything. Freedom of the individual. So freedom of the individual to wear what they want, you know, is important to me. But we need to interrogate why it is that these women say they make this choice to wear this item of clothing. Sure, they might make that choice, but why? Is it a fear of the women, of the men who make them wear it? I say maybe not always, but when she says she doesn't know of that at all, that is rubbish. We had Khadija Khan, the Pakistan-born journalist,
I love that woman,
who was saying, you know, that her and her sisters were really severely called over the courts by their father because they wouldn't wear the burqa, and it took their mother to steam in. I love the sound of Khadija's mother, to steam in and say, I did not give the birth to these girls to be slaves. So there are women all over the world, I think, are wearing these because they're afraid of the men who make them wear it.
You make such a good point, Kev. It really is spot on, because right now, as we speak, in countries like Iran and Afghanistan, women actually sometimes get their eyes shot out, unfortunately, for showing too much. You know, for maybe showing a bit of hair or showing something that they're not meant to show, an eyebrow or something like that. It is ridiculous. There are one-eyed women walking around in this.
There's a cyclops.
Yes. Yeah, because in Afghanistan right now they are trying to push actually the one-eyed burqa.
So in Afghanistan,
so the problem is
really catching
exactly, and the problem is, you know, I can have a nice chat with Khadija, and honestly, objectively, she's a nice woman. She seems to have chosen to do that. This seems to be a good situation, but unfortunately, it is a garment that subjugates women massively. It is a garment that is massively misogynistic, and also around the world it's being used and abused to oppress women, and that's where the problem lies. And people like Khadija use the freedoms that the UK give them in order to live her life, play her cricket, do what she wants to do. But around the world, that's not what's actually going on here, and I think that's where the issue lies.
Yeah, again, I'm going to put this question out to you, folks. Let me know, should we think about banning the niqab, the burqa, all items of clothing that, or religious items of clothing that require women to cover themselves from head to foot so you can only see their eyes? I mean, should we in Britain think about banning that? They banned it in France. They banned it in quite a few Muslim countries, Tunisia being one, for example. So it's not just non-Muslim countries that recognise that this item of clothing that women are forced to wear, covering them from head to foot, is not anything to do with empowering women. It's about the opposite. It is about taking power away from them. It's about reducing them to invisible people. making them second-class citizens in a religion by men for men. Let me know what you think. Should we ban the burqa? Make a stand as a country. Make a stand. It's for decency. It's for equality, I think. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Big thanks to Samara Gill. Excellent interview with Khadija Patel, the empowering women wearer of the niqab. So thanks to Samara Gill. Next up, your calls. 0344 499 1000. Should we ban the burqa? Is two-tier Britain alive and well and thriving under King Andy Burnham after he announced his bizarre scheme, which divides Britain, divides parents into parents who are working, who've got jobs, and parents who haven't, who are on benefits. If you're on benefits, and you can persuade I can imagine these kids, parents on benefits, got some brilliant little kids on her way to, or his way to Oxford or Cambridge. No, get your toolbox, get your toolbox, get your spanners ready. You're going to train to be a plumber, because that gets me 4,500 quid, but only if you're on benefits. This is two-tier Britain. If you're working, you don't get that £4,500. What does he think he's doing? He's just announcing this nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Going to cost another £1 billion. He hasn't got the money for it. One day, fairly soon, I fear that King Andy, the unelected, undemocratic Prime Minister, is going to collide with reality. His magic money tree is going to come crashing down, and we are going to be left with a scene of devastation, a wilderness from here to the horizon. I mean it, it's really bad. This guy is just indulging in pathetic 70s fantasy politics. What are we going to do about it? 0344 499 1000. Your call's next. Give me a call.
So they are launching a legal bid to stop crime statistics linked to nationality from being released. And the Ministry of Justice are so desperate to make sure that we do not know the truth about just how bad it is when it comes to migrant crime, that they have decided, even though they didn't have money to do the FOI request, that they have got money to launch a legal bid.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Heads up. After the 6 o'clock news in 6 or 7 minutes' time, very pleased to announce that former Home Secretary, now Reform UK Education spokesperson, Suella Braverman will join us for 20-25 minutes. We'll go through some of the big stories of the day, particularly interested to find out what she thinks about Andy's two-tier scheme to give parents on benefits £4,500 if their kids become apprentices. What about parents who aren't on benefits? I'll tell you about it. They don't get anything. They're to be condemned. They shouldn't get any privileges, should they? What are they doing? Going out, getting a job, paying for their families? Who do they think they are? They're not going to get a penny. Two-tier Britain. Andy Burnham's two-tier Britain. Hooray, we're off. Unbelievable. We'll talk to Suella about that and other big issues after the 6 o'clock news. Quick voice note from Steve on these benefits.
I'm just listening to what you were saying about that latest announcement from Andy Burnham about families on benefits whose child becomes an apprentice will get paid £4,500. I mean, apart from it being an absolute ridiculous statement, wouldn't that apprentice then, when they go to do an apprenticeship, be on minimum wage, which is a lot more than £4,500 a year? So they would actually be gaining more money in the family, and then Burnham wants to pay him an extra £4,500 on top. Jesus, this country. Unbelievable, mate.
Jesus, this country. Exactly, Steve. I don't know how to explain that. It's a ridiculous policy. It is so ridiculous. So much of what this guy Burnham is saying is just ludicrous, bizarre, just empty promises he won't be able to come good on. Let's talk to Simon in Eastbourne. Hi, Simon.
Hello, Mr. O'Sullivan. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Do you think we should ban the niqab, the burqa?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing.
Yep.
A lot of women actually choose.
Yeah, no, we know about that. I'm saying we're asking why they choose to do that. Do they choose to wear it because they're scared of the men who make them wear it?
It's basically sticking two fingers up to Western culture.
Yeah, but by who is sticking two fingers up? Is it the women who wear the burqa, or is it the men that make them wear the burqa?
Well, basically, it's what the preaching's from the
It's
mosque.
the men, isn't it? It's the men.
Basically, yes. But a lot of women actually choose to
because
wear
they're
a
scared of
burqa.
the men, Simon.
Oh, maybe that might be true, but a lot of women actually, some of them actually choose to wear a burqa.
Yeah, I know, because they're scared of men.
That might be true, actually, yes.
Yeah, so let's not. I don't think it works to explain this away, that women wear this. I'm all for women or everybody being able to wear what the hell they want within reason. But I don't believe that these people make this choice just completely without influence. They make it because they're a bit worried about what might happen if they don't wear it.
I've got a friend of mine. He's a cab driver here in Eastbourne. He's Iranian. He doesn't even believe in God. And his wife said, you know, should I cover my hair? And he said, of course not. We live in Britain.
Exactly right. Exactly right, Simon. Listen, call me again. I've got to move on because the news is coming up. But good to talk. Very good call. Thank you. Simon in Eastbourne there. We're going to go to the break, as I say. Suella Braverman after the news. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're just waiting to connect with Suella Braverman, former Tory Home Secretary, of course, now Reform UK's spokesperson for education skills and equality. She's the MP for Fareham and Waterlooville. I'm very keen to talk to her because conveniently, Mr. Burnham has a couple of hours ago announced the latest policy, his latest policy, which is all about giving £4,500 a year to the parents of children who become apprentices. In other words, he's trying to sort of smash the Blairite idea of 50% or more of all kids going to university to do degrees that will guarantee them unemployment for life. He's trying to smash that nonsense to pieces. In theory, that's okay. But offering £4,500 specifically to parents on benefits if their kids become apprentices seems very divisive, very two-tier Britain, isn't it? What about parents who are working? Why don't they get that money as well? Or maybe neither of them should get the money. All these apprentices he wants to create, where are they going to work exactly? Do we know where they're going to work? I think that Andy Burnham has ideas of these huge factories and mills and, you know, the industrial north like it used to be in the 1970s, the 1960s. Well, I've got bad news for him. Britain has kind of changed. So all these apprentices, I mean, he's right. It's a good idea to get pupils to do courses that they're more suited for. No point in forcing manually inclined students into academia. But where are all these new apprentices going to work? Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. While we wait for Suella Braverman, let's take a call. Let's go to David in Folkestone. Hi, David.
Hello, Kevin.
You want to talk about apprenticeships? What would you like to say?
Yeah, as a college lecturer, now retired, thank goodness. I had to think about that. I had a situation in the classroom years ago, teaching NVQs, unfortunately. I did teach VQs, by the way. But then VQs, this kid stood up and said, I don't want qualifications, I don't need them. My parents are all on the dole. And it made me think, well, yes, Mum and Dad are, but you could get a job. And so how is Andy Burnham going to sort of look at this? Because these kids starting, because they're forced to start by their parents, and an apprenticeship, when are they going to get paid? At the beginning of every year, or when the kids...
I was wondering about that.
When are they going to get paid?
For how long will we pay these parents £4,500 a year? For the rest of their kids' working lives or something? I mean...
Well, we haven't put an end date on it, has he?
No, well, he wouldn't, because he doesn't really seem to think these things through. Now, here's a question for you, David, though. You know, in theory, you know, I quite like what Burnham's saying insofar as Blair's contention that 50% of kids should go to university was ridiculous. It saddled us with generations of kids with useless degrees, university degrees that guaranteed them to... Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Blair came in,
so you get the folly of that. But this mania to produce 50,000 apprentices, where are they all going to work?
And how much is that going to cost?
Well, it costs a fortune, but where are they going to work? I mean, is there quite the industry around that Andy Burnham seems to imagine?
Are they all going to become builders or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean...
the BBC opening up new programmes, Book the Builder.
Yeah, I know, it's just very strange, David. It really, really is. But listen, thank you for ringing, and please call me again. David in Folkestone there. Let's listen to a voice note from Mark on benefits. Hello, Mark.
These people need to stop giving our money to people that have never paid in and stop being feckless. Apprenticeships being paid because the parents are out of work. What do we get? Absolutely nothing at all. Me and my wife both work, pay for childcare, pay for everything. We get absolutely nothing out of it. I think it's time that maybe we give up work and we sat on our backsides and did absolutely nothing, and then we can have all this money. We will teach our son to get off his backside and go to work. He will go and do an apprenticeship, or he'll do uni, whatever he wants. What he won't do, he sits at home on his arse.
Mark, well, yeah, I agree with what Mark's saying there. I mean, it's so divisive. It's so divisive to make this rather generous, nearly £100 a week offer to all parents if their kids become apprentices. I think that might put unfair pressure on some kids, you know, talented kids who were going to go to Oxford or Cambridge or university to study for academic degrees. Probably quite a few parents will say, well, you know, why don't you become a plumber, because we'll get £100 a week out of that. So I think it's divisive. I think it's slightly perverse as well. I just don't trust this scheme one bit. Everything about Burnham, everything he announces just doesn't seem to be properly thought through. This $4,500 for the parents of kids who become apprentices only on the basis that they're on benefits. That is so divisive. That is two-tier Britain in all its lack of glory. Seem to have lost Suella Braverman, so let's go to another call. Let's talk to Joan in Sunderland. Hi, Joan.
Hello. Some of these firms that offer these schemes, supposedly apprenticeships and what have, they're not worth the paper they're written on. I mean, years ago, you used to have to do a 5-year thing, which also included either college at night or 1 day a week. You worked for 5 years, and then you got your indentures. These are Mickey Mouse things.
Yeah, and also, Joan, forgive me, but I detect that you'll be able to remember the North when it was different, when it was very industrialised, when there were factories, when there were mills, when there were coal mines all over the shop. Loads and loads of opportunities for young apprentices with manual skills. All of those industries aren't there anymore. Where are all these apprentices going to work?
Well, I don't know. Sunderland was the biggest shipbuilding town in the world. We had 7
Yeah, exactly, but they're not there anymore. Yeah, I just fear, Joan, that Andy Burnham lives in a fantasy world where the 70s still exist. Well, they don't. I'm all for steering kids towards apprenticeships, but they better have somewhere to work when they've completed those apprenticeships. I don't think they do right now. Joan, good call as always. Thank you very much. That's Joan in Sunderland. Very pleased to announce we have now connected with the Reform UK spokesperson on education skills and equalities, former Tory Home Secretary, of course, MP for Fareham and Waterlooville, Suella Braverman. Welcome, Suella.
Good evening.
Listen, I'm glad I've got you because you're the spokesman on education skills and equalities, and it's just the day to discuss these issues. Andy Burnham, about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, made this announcement, which I think is the epitome of two-tier Britain, incredibly divisive, saying that the parents of children who become apprentices will be given £4,500 a year by the government. But there's a caveat. Those parents, to get that money, nearly £100 a week, have to be on benefits. If you've made the mistake of going out and getting a job and paying for your family yourself, earning your own money, you don't get this £4,500 a year if your kid becomes an apprentice. I mean, what do you make of this policy? I think it's divisive, two-tier, and I think characteristically of this new Prime Minister, just not thought through.
I think you're right, Kevin. Listen, we do have a crisis of youth unemployment. We've got over 1 million young people between the ages of 18 and 24 who are currently not in education, employment or training, and that is a crisis. And so we do need to tackle this challenge of young people on welfare. But giving more money to people who are welfare claimants is not the solution. It's not an incentive. It's not going to fix anything. It's going to cost billions of pounds. I don't know where Andy Burnham is going to get that money from. And it's wholly unfair. What about the hard-working Brits who are getting up early every morning, slogging their guts out, coming back late, exhausted, and doing it all again day after day and paying through their noses at record levels of taxation? So, no, we shouldn't be paying more money to those on welfare, and we will strongly oppose that. But what we do need to do is overhaul the whole system, because what we have in our education and our skills framework at the moment is not working. We're funneling too many of our young people through a highly academic route and pushing too many people into university because of this Blairite obsession with 50% of young people must go to university. It's not right. There are many dud degrees. Average student debt is £50,000. A lot of that is never repaid. It's the British taxpayer who pays for that. And job prospects are low now for graduates. Average starting salaries for average graduates is falling. And meanwhile, we do have labour market shortages in many aspects of our economy. Now, the last caller said, where are these apprenticeships going to come from? The reality is that we've been importing cheap foreign labour for many years to fill a lot of gaps in construction, in hospitality, in care work, in many, many vital sectors of our economy. That's not right. Far better to get our young people into high quality technical and vocational training pathways, good quality apprenticeships, avoid the great university scam, as I call it, and start earning and learning and moving forward with their lives. So the big picture really is one of a necessary reform. How Andy Burnham's going about it, I'm not sure is the right way.
Exactly right. I mean, you know, he always seems to manage to find some kind of bill to pay for all of his policies. So this policy, £4,500 a year to all parents on benefits whose children become apprentices, would apparently cost upwards of £1 billion. Nowhere in his announcement does it mention how long parents will be paid this money, how many years they'll get it, how you'll choose the parents who qualify. And as I say, to go back to the basic criticism of this, it's incredibly divisive, incredibly unfair to parents who are out there working. It's one more policy from Labour that incentivises being on welfare. They seem to think working, having a job is a bad thing, and you should reward those people, those citizens who have been wise and responsible enough to stay on the dole. It's bizarre, it's perverse.
It is, and it's going to lead to perverse outcomes. I mean, that's why we've come out with the policy of rewarding work. We want to be on the side of workers, strivers, grafters, the people who are getting up every day. So that's why we're slashing tax on overtime. That's why we would cut VAT on various issues. We want to make it easier for employers to take on young people. That's the real solution. The national insurance rise on employers is punishing employers. It's prohibiting them from taking on young people because it's getting too expensive for them to do that. And that's why in some sectors we would get rid of it. So that's how we get more young people into work. We don't pay them more welfare. we try and incentivize employers to hire more young people, and we make it easier for people to keep more of what they're earning.
Quite. Can I watched Andy Burnham last night on Panorama, his first, if you like, proper interview with Laura Kunsberg on the BBC. Frankly, it was 30 minutes of empty verbiage, to be honest with you. But he spent his first 7 days as Prime Minister of this country, the utterly undemocratic King Andy, who's waltzed into number 10 Downing Street unhindered by even a hint of democracy. It's all very strange, but there he is. He spends 7 days announcing policy after policy, all of which will cost more than £2 billion. He hasn't costed any of them, which in itself is worrying. But he wouldn't mention at all the one issue that concerns the people of this country more than any other. That is the migrant crisis. Whoop-de-doo, finally yesterday he mentions it. He finally gets round to the number one issue concerning British citizens, the small boat crisis. What does he say? He says, Labour's plan is working the number of small boats is plummeting, coming down. No need to do anything, nothing to see here. Labour's plan is working. This, after his first 7 days, were distinguished by nearly 1,000 illegal foreigners coming across the channel in illegal, unlawful small boats. One of them shouldn't be called a small boat at all. It had 165 people in it, the biggest ever small boat to cross the channel. So the mega boat is the new scourge. He says, nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. Labour's plan is working. I'm not going to do anything. How worrying and terrifying is that?
Well, this is the number one issue and the number one crisis facing our country. We don't have secure borders, and the last Conservative government failed. It didn't take my advice as Home Secretary that we needed to leave the ECHR if we were going to stop the boats. It's one reason why I left the Conservative Party. The Starmer government failed. He pledged to smash the gangs and stop the boats. And the numbers arriving in 2025 exceeded the numbers arriving in 2024, which exceeded the numbers arriving in 2023. So this problem is getting worse, not better. Shabana Mahmood's deal has not worked. That was hailed as the solution. She's just introduced a law into Parliament that she says will stop the boats. I recently spoke on it in Parliament, voted against it because it's a farce. And the British people have seen this show before, and this is going to end exactly the same way as previous governments. And Andy Burnham, I think it's appalling, actually, that he's been dragged kicking and screaming to actually talk about the number one crisis facing the country right now. The number of illegal migrants coming into this country is a national security emergency. These people are coming in, they're young, undocumented men, largely. They pose a public safety risk. They pose a national security risk. Just read about this week that there are Iranian operatives who are being deliberately smuggled in on this route. And Andy Burnham just seems to, bat his eyelids and put out his cheeky, chappy videos and hopes that no one will notice. Well, I'm sorry, Andy. If you want to be a serious Prime Minister, you need to confront the big crisis facing the country, and that is a small boats crisis.
Absolutely. Do you fear? I watched Panorama last night, because I was intrigued here. We had a guy now, 8 days, our Prime Minister, has not yet talked to the media, has not been interrogated by Parliament, has not put himself up for scrutiny at all, not one bit. So I was interested to see his interview last night. Didn't reveal all that much. He's going to solve the NHS's problems, apparently, by spending a fortune on a new social care system. So typical Labour, we can solve one massive financial problem by spending a whole lot more on something else. His other initiative, if you like, was, I think in theory I'm with him, which was to get kids away from all going to university pointlessly to do degrees that will condemn them to a life of unemployment. I don't disagree with his basic principles on education. You've got to get more apprentices out there, more practical kids learning practical things rather than Latin and the classics. I get that. But by and large, he seems like an empty vessel just spewing platitudes. He seems like a politician who's going to always be prepared to talk about things that make him look good, that make people feel good. Oh, I'm going to give you, take the VAT off your energy bills. How are you going to pay for it? I'm not sure about that. So on and so forth. But when it comes to issues that are awkward for him, like the migrant crisis, he's going to stay silent. He's that kind of politician, a grinning, feel-good politician who one day, very soon, I think, Suella, may well collide pretty violently with reality.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's in, his honeymoon phase because he's not had to do anything really yet, and he's not had to make any big decisions, and he's handing out sweeties. He's trying to be motherhood and apple pie to everybody and make the most of his initial honeymoon period. But when he, as you say, collides with reality and the big crises facing this country, whether it is extremely high youth unemployment, whether it's the small boats crisis, whether it's, two-tier policing and the real sense of fear and lack of confidence that millions of people feel in the police these days, whether it's our lack of armed forces to defend ourselves in the event of a military attack. There are serious crises right now, and they're not going to be solved by a kind of, children's TV presenter kind of guy who is spouting Corbynomics, because he's basically, this is all the magic money tree all over again.
It certainly is, yeah.
Andy Burnham just saying we'll pay for loads of great things to make your life easier without any thought about how it's all going to be paid for.
Yeah, I had my doubts about this guy, but I was hoping for the best. And then he said his political hero was Neil Kinnock, and then I realised we're all doomed. But let me ask you this couple more questions, Suella, if you will. First one is, we've been concentrating or focusing in this show on a young lady called Khadija Patel up in Bolton. She's just won, all power to her elbow, a British Citizen Award in recognition of her work empowering women. She is photographed accepting this award in a head-to-foot niqab. You can just about see her eyes. She gave an interview to our reporter, Samara Gill. She said it's her choice to wear this outfit. And I'm always a bit torn about this, because I do think women and men have the right to choose what they want to wear. But I think we need to interrogate why it is that women like Khadija Patel want to wear this item. I suspect it's because they're afraid of repercussions if they don't. But all in all, I think we're coming to a head here. And like France, like Tunisia, like quite a few countries around the world, perhaps Britain is on the cusp of having to decide whether or not we outlaw the niqab and the burqa. What is your view on that? I think, reluctantly, I think we should. I don't think it is commensurate with British values. I think it reduces women to the status of second-class citizens. It makes them invisible. It makes them a symbol of servitude to the men who run the Muslim religion. I don't think we should allow it anymore. What's your feeling?
Well, I've been very emphatic on this issue for years, and I believe we have to ban the burqa and the niqab in public places. This is not conducive. It's not British. That is not a symbol of Britain or British values or female equality. And I think it is a symbol of oppression and servitude. I don't think it is also conducive to integration. And actually, I'm not alone in saying this. For once, I'm going to invoke the European Court of Human Rights. Miraculously,
Thank God we're still a member.
Breaking news. I actually agree with the European Court of Human Rights. There is a case from the European Court of Human Rights where even the Strasbourg Court, all the lefty lawyers in the Strasbourg Court, agree with me, Suella Braverman, that actually the burqa is not conducive to integration in a democratic society, and it is actually upheld various bans that other European countries have rolled out when challenged at the European Human Rights Court. So actually, it's not about violation of human rights. This is about integration. This is about how we communicate in a society, looking people in the eye, being able to see their facial expressions, understanding what they mean, is all about how we communicate in the United Kingdom. And I think, face coverings in general, actually, we need to look at that more broadly. So this is not about singling out one religion or one culture. But I do think this is, in particular, a symbol of oppression of women. It should be banned. And I'm very clear about that.
I totally agree, Suella. My last question to you is your thoughts on Nigel Farage, Reform UK, yesterday reporting Zach Polanski to the police for this Instagram post featuring a generously proportioned man with a beard wearing a T-shirt emblazoned with a guillotine saying, "We're only making plans for Nigel." Nigel has reported Polanski because he's allied himself to this tweet, or sorry, it's an Instagram post. Nigel Farage saying this is incitement to murder. I mean, I'd like the police saying, well, we're taking this very seriously, and I think in the slipstream of the tragedy of Anne Widdecombe, we do have to take this sort of thing very seriously. I haven't heard anything from the police except we take this sort of thing seriously. Have you heard whether or not they've interviewed Zach Polanski? Yeah, I do think they need to get fairly dynamic on this, don't you?
Yeah, I think that this is an outrageous image posted by a party leader, and where it was regardless of who has been posted by it, it is a horrific image, and I think that especially in light of recent tragic events and the constant and very steady flow of threats that Nigel Farage receives himself, merely for speaking the truth and standing up for Britain, I think that it's right that the police are looking into it.
Have you taken steps yourself, Suella, about your own security? Because you're a well-known figure, part of a party that seems to attract the anger and fury of far-left lunatics. Have you taken any steps about your own security?
Yeah, I've got a security team, and they are, unfortunately, it's become a feature of public life for many of us in reform, many of us on the right. But, you know, it's not going to stop me doing my job. It's a privilege to be elected to Parliament, and I try as much as possible to be accessible, to hold public events, to be in the community, and that's a real aspect of the job that I cherish, and I think it would be a real shame if we lose that. In other countries, elected politicians are very aloof, very distant, very shrouded in mystique and security, and I think it really is damaging for democracy. So I think the balance needs to be struck, but yeah, I've been on the receiving end of death threats, harassment, vile behaviour from people who disagree with my views. It won't put me off.
Does it make you frightened, personally?
Listen, I think you do. I mean, I think all MPs across the board actually now take their work with a little bit more caution, approach their jobs with a more serious attitude to it than in the past, in light of the murder of Anne Widdecombe. But, you know, David Amos was a friend and colleague of mine, Joe Cox. You know, these tragedies really bring home to every MP and indeed anybody in public life that there is a heightened risk. And I think that we need to be very honest about calling it out. And also we need to put the right measures in place to make sure all of our MPs, regardless of their party or their political affiliation, are kept safe.
Well, it's a sad comment on our times, but you stay safe, Suella, and thank you very much for coming on. Come on again soon. That is Suella Braverman. She's the Education and Skills and Equalities spokesperson for Reform UK. She's the former Home Secretary, of course, Tory Home Secretary, and she's the MP for Fareham and Waterlooville. Let me know about some of the things she was saying, what you think. Again, I want to come back to Andy Burnham's ideas about apprenticeships. What do you think about the fact that only parents who are on benefits will get £4,500 a year if their kids become apprentices? I also think there might be something a bit pernicious about this. And as I said, academically inclined kids in hard cash-pressed households might be forced by their parents into becoming plumbers because their parents could do with the £4,500 a year, which would be a shame as well. Although I think it is a good idea to divert more and more kids away from pointless university degrees that steer them into lives of total unemployment. It's ridiculous. Tony Blair's vision of 50% of kids going to university has been, continues to be, an utter disaster, so like so many of his other policies. Right, when we come back, I think we're going to address the big question of the day, which is, why do dogs hate cats? And the reason we're going to ask that question is that Andy Burnham, he's got a dog called Axel. It's a sort of poodle cross thing, little white thing. And he says, the Prime Minister says, he's not going to bring Axel down to Downing Street. He's going to leave him in the north because Axel, he said he's going through a sort of angry young man thing, and he doesn't get on well with cats. And he feels that there may be an angry clash if Axel comes down to Downing Street and collides with Larry the Downing Street cat. So he doesn't want Axel to attack the cat. So I'm going to try and find out after the break why it is that dogs... I mean, I've had dogs all my life and never really thought about it. They all hate cats. Never thought about why. We'll try and find out why after these messages. Stay exactly where you are.
So they are launching a legal bid to stop crime statistics linked to nationality from being released. And the Ministry of Justice are so desperate to make sure that we do not know the truth about just how bad it is when it comes to migrant crime, that they have decided, even though they didn't have money to do the FOI request, that they have got money to launch a legal bid.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I say, the big news of the day is that Andy Burnham has announced that his dog Axel, the little white poodle cross, will not be coming down to Downing Street. There is Axel. He looks like a dangerous little thing, doesn't he? Anyway, apparently he has got angry young man syndrome, and Andy fears that Axel will not get on well with Larry the Downing Street cat. In fact, he fears that Larry may well attack Larry the Downing Street cat, and as Andy quite rightly says, the nation will not thank him for that. So I've had dogs all my life. All of them have hated cats. I've never sort of stopped to think why. Let's try and find out from behaviour and nutrition expert and host of A Dog's Life podcast. That is Anna Webb. Welcome, Anna.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
Good to have you on the show. Why do dogs hate cats?
Well, do you know what? I don't think that they do.
You haven't met my dogs. They despise them.
Oh, but that's maybe, Kevin, because you haven't socialised your dog with a cat, and
well, they wouldn't let me. They couldn't stand to be in the same postcode as a cat.
Look, they're completely different. I mean, I've got both. I've had dogs all my life. I've also had a cat for the last 17 years. So it is about, respecting their differences. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, a dog will normally submit to a cat because a cat has 4 retractable claws. They have little mouths that are like little baby saber-toothed tiger mouths, and they can actually harm dogs. You know that Larry the cat, he saw off a fox that was about 3 times his size a couple of years.
I mean, I can concur with that, Anna. I mean, most of my dogs have hated cats. Whenever, they spend all their time shouting and growling and barking at them and chasing them. If the cats turn around and confront them, the dogs are either completely bemused, they don't know what to do, or they sort of basically back off. So they're all bark and no bite, if I can use that expression rather appropriately. But there is still this. They just don't like cats. And is it this, right? The other thing I've detected among my many dogs in my life is most of them. But I've had serious issues with all other species. You know, all other animals seem to get them riled up. You know, I've had dogs that, you know, they couldn't stand sheep, hated cows. You name the other species, and they weren't convinced about them. I mean, are dogs just all of them fighting some kind of little war with the rest of the world?
I don't think so at all. I think it's all about early socialisation. So if you know that you're going to, be going to the country quite a lot and your dog's going to see a lot of sheep, maybe to desensitise your dog to sheep, you've always got to have your dog on a lead when you're passing a field.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Of course, absolutely, because farmers do have the right to shoot your dog, right, really, for harassment. So I think it's all about early socialisation. You get some dogs and cats that get on really, really well. It's also about the individual cat, of course, and socialising the cat and creating boundaries. So the cat lives up high on sideboards, desks, the like. The dog remains generally on the floor. Hopefully they can share a sofa space together. The cat will be in a perch where he can make a quick getaway. Now the thing is, when a cat runs from a dog, that triggers the prey drive that all dogs have, or most dogs have. I'm not sure if a Bichon cross poodle, but the poodle was a hunting dog a long time ago, would actually chase Larry. I think Andy Burnham's dog might take a fright from Larry. I think that could be the reason he's staying up north myself. I think it's all about individual dogs and individual cats, and about, your expectations of your dog. If you want your dog, to get on, see a horse and not freak out, if that's your lifestyle, then you train it from an early age.
I think you got a good point there, Anna. A lot of people who have a dog and a cat, or dogs and cats, if they're together from an early age, they get on just fine. But I'm just sort of laughing at the idea of me trying to socialise some of the dogs I've had with cats. It wouldn't have been a goer. It really wouldn't. But interesting stuff, Anna. Thank you so much. Good to have you on the show. Anna Webb there. She is a behaviour and nutrition expert, and she's the host of A Dog's Life. That is a podcast, so have a listen to that. Right, let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to take... Well, the rest of the show is all down to you. Your phone calls, your WhatsApp voice notes. I'll read some messages as well. So get on the phone, 03444 99 1000. Are you a parent whose child might become an apprentice? If you are, and you've got a job, how do you feel about the fact that parents who haven't got jobs, whose kids become apprentices, are going to get £4,500 a year from the government that you're not going to get? 03444 99 1000. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go to... Oh, shall I read a couple of messages before we go to the phones? Here you go. This is Rob talking about Axel, Andy Burnham's dog. If Axel caught up with a cat, he would get his face torn off. Not necessarily. I mean, a lot of cat owners go, yeah, cats are much tougher than dogs. Not necessarily. This is from Testy on Tyneside. When I was little, I used to walk the neighbour's Labrador. Remy, fat as Jabba, could barely walk, but one day she caught sight of a cat and sped like Usain Bolt towards it, dragging 9-year-old me a good 50 yards over the fields. To this day, I can't explain it. She just hated cats. Simple. That's it, Testy. That is it. There's a visceral hatred of cats, all this socialisation stuff. Maybe some dogs. Some of the dogs I've owned, you could not socialise them to like cats. They hated them. You know, like viscerally, in their DNA. Testy's making a good point. Let's go to the phone. Let's talk to Kyle. He's a new caller from Lincolnshire. Hi, Kyle. You're 28 and you work. You're a full-time dad. So if your kid, I don't know if you've got one kid or more, but if they become apprentices, you're not going to get any money for it because you've got a job. If you're on benefits, Andy Burnham will give you £4,500 a year. What do you think about that policy?
Hi, thank you, Kev. I mean, do you know, I have this conversation with my wife not long after our little boy was born. He's only 9 months, but, you know, we both said, what would we prefer him to do? And I genuinely said I would prefer him to go out and get a trade of some form.
Yes.
Because you always need traders. You're always going to need you're always going to need electricians, plumbers, builders. You're always going to need it. I think I do think it's backwards though. This policy, because with due respect, and it's probably the bluntest way to put it, is, you know, why not use that money to help incentivise people to actually hire apprentices?
Yeah,
rather than give it to the parents. Who, let's be honest, probably have more time to help and support those compared to the ones working. Why not use that money?
I agree, that's a good idea, Carl, but don't you also think that it's a terribly divisive policy, a very two-tier policy, which is unfair to people like you? I mean, if your little boy grows up to become an apprentice, why should you not get a single penny? But your next-door neighbour, for example, who's got a kid the same age, who goes to become an apprentice at the same time as your kid does, your neighbour's on benefits, he or she gets £4,500 a year. You don't, because you've committed the cardinal sin of being employed, working and paying for yourself. That's not fair, is it?
No, not at all. You know, I look at it from my point of view. It's selfish, I know, but I look at it from the point of view of I work a long job. You know, I work 10 hours a day. I drive an hour to go to work to provide the best as possible. And then, you know, it just seems to be, and it seems to be happening everywhere, or not mainly across the nation, but there just does seem to be this incentivization to, well, what's the point going out to work if other people are going to pay for you? It's not fair. It's not fair. And, you know, I do well, you know, I work hard for it, though. You know, there'll be other people who are working full time who could probably really use this to help support the family, but they're still working full-time and not getting any support. It makes no sense at all.
It certainly doesn't. I mean, I'm not against the principle. I think we do need to steer more kids into manual, skilled work rather than pointless university degrees. But I don't think he's thought this through at all. And it is the ultimate two-tier Britain policy, isn't it? 4,500, but only if you're on benefits. In other words, reward the people on benefits and make it harder for people who've gone out and got a job. It's just outrageous. It's ridiculous. He hasn't thought it through. Kyle, all the best, mate. Good call. Call me again. Keep in touch. Kyle in Lincolnshire there. Let's go to Saeed. Hello, Saeed. You want me to stop speculating about that Islamic terrorist in Paris? Why?
Yeah, actually, before we go there, if I can just make a comment on Andy Burnham.
Go on.
Right? I think he clearly is a much more astute political operator than the disaster that Keir Starmer was, who started his sort of honeymoon period by kicking
He's being positive. I agree with that.
He's been positive, and
that doesn't behove you well to start your administration being all negative and saying we're all doomed, which is what that idiot Starmer and his useless sidekick Rachel Reeves did. So Burnham's trying to be more optimistic. I think it is the right way to start your government, but we're already working out that he can't afford any of what he's promising us, so it's not that great.
No, absolutely. But I think at least it gives him a bit of a bounce in the polls.
This time next week, I reckon the bounce will be going down again.
I think it depends on what happens in the Manchester.
Well, I do think it depends if he's got any money at all to fund any of these policies, and the answer to that is he doesn't. He hasn't got any money. He's promising us stuff he cannot deliver.
Yeah, and unless he sort of, and I think he's still hamstrung by the manifesto commitments that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have done. And so
he won't care. He already has proved he doesn't care about that. He's going to break. He's going to smash all the. He's not going to worry about the manifesto. That's quite clear. So what else did you want to say?
So on the look, I mean, I think we are in a way the people who commit heinous crimes in our society. It's unfortunate, and they should be sort of dealt with the full force of the law. But I just feel a bit uncomfortable that there seems to be a media frenzy on whether these guys are, what is their religion, what is their ethnicity, did they come...
Well, when somebody stabs 3 women in the streets of Paris and explains Allah commanded me to do this, then you know, it's bizarre to me that the French authorities say we have no idea why he committed this heinous crime.
Clearly,
he's an Islamic terrorist, isn't he? But they're too scared to say so.
I'm not sure, right? He might just be completely bonkers. And
I know what he is, Saeed. I know what he is. He's a loner with mental health issues, isn't he? Like all of them.
Let me give you an example, right? You had that Golders Green stabbing, and there was this guy who did that. And what was sort of airbrushed out of the coverage was that before he attacked 2 Jewish people, he attacked a Muslim guy that he had known for 20 years. Right.
Well, hang on. Wait a second. We don't know that. That is sub judice. It's a court case that is going on, and we mustn't prejudice that case. So you don't know what you're talking about there, Saeed. You're just speculating. We need to leave that to the courts of this country, OK?
But I think there is...
No, we're not discussing that. It's sub judice.
Don't need to discuss that, but what I'm trying to point out to you is that people, I think it's important we don't jump to conclusions.
Okay. So do we not jump to conclusions? At first, in Germany, they wouldn't say why that Islamic terrorist drove into the Berlin Pride March. Then they said, oh, it looks like he's an Islamic terrorist. That's the last time they've mentioned that. Last weekend in Paris, there's a maniac stabbing women stabbing them in the streets of Paris, saying, Allah commanded me to do it. And then you get the French authorities going, we have no idea why he did this. It's because he's an Islamic terrorist. That's why.
No, but people can have mental health problems.
Honestly, Saeed, you know, you're born yesterday. You need to get with the programme, read up on all this. Don't be conned by this nonsense. We are in the grip of authorities, governments who are terrified to admit to the threat of Islamic terrorism, which is pervasive. It's huge. We've got to confront it, OK? Thank you for ringing. Saeed in London there. Let's go to break, take some more calls when we come back.
So they are launching a legal bid to stop crime statistics linked to nationality from being released. And the Ministry of Justice are so desperate to make sure that we do not know the truth about just how bad it is when it comes to migrant crime, that they have decided, even though they didn't have money to do the FOI request, that they have got money to launch a legal bid.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Go back to the phones in a second. This is a text from WhatsApp note from Dave in Bristol. He says, the thing that worries me about this person wearing the burqa is how much will she be influencing those girls or women she deals with. I think that it's a contradiction in terms to claim that this repressive form of female clothing and what it stands for is a symbol of freedom of choice that girls and women can choose to wear or not. Where this leads to is a concern. Yeah, I don't think it's in the classic sense of the term a freedom of choice issue. Yes, these women decide to wear the burqa or the niqab to cover themselves from head to foot, but why do they decide to do this? Why do they make that choice? Is it because they fear the men who want them to wear this? Is it because they fear the men who run that religion? For men, by men. Women are second-class citizens. How about that? This is from Betty. She says, Kev, my cat Tiger, 18, and dog Mida, 16, both Asian rescues. They love each other, but the trick is the cat needs to be older, or a kitten, when a dog meets them, and then they will look after them. That's really interesting, really interesting. I might try that, but not with my current dog. It's a bit too late. Nothing can be done there. That ship has sailed. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Laura in Wiltshire. Hi, Laura. Where do you stand on the niqab?
Well, Kev, you know, weirdly, I was at a slightly bizarre boarding school in Scotland for 5 years. I'm now 61. And we had a lot of Iranian people who'd escaped the regime.
Yeah, back in the 70s.
It was a very privileged school. But they were so relieved to get away from that terrifying spectrum. And they're the Muslims that I have known throughout my life. I'm now 61. And I am absolutely terrified by what is going on now. And somebody like this supposedly being given an award to speak for me as a woman in this country, and she doesn't.
Do you know what worries me? And I don't want to have a go at Khatija Patel. She seems like a great girl, you know, who does a lot of great work for girls who want to play sport in Bolton, girls of her religion. But I think she is, if you like, you know, I'll probably get in trouble for this, but she's a prisoner of her religion. She says, I made this choice. Well, why did you make this choice? Because I believe women in the Islamic religion are forced to wear these coverall clothes because men want them to. And they're a bit afraid of what might happen if they don't. So I don't believe when they say, it's my choice, I make this choice, that we should necessarily say, oh well, that's the end of the story. And I think we should just I think we should ban these items. I think they turn women into second-class citizens. I don't approve of that.
And for too many years now, I mean, genuinely, like 20-odd years, I've been saying, I don't care about the colour of your skin. I don't care which God you follow. But I'm sorry, we have a culture here, and we want you to follow our culture if you choose to live here.
Or respect it, at least.
Or respect it, and understand that is the predominant culture. And this will be, but interesting, my husband, who happens to be completely blind, works, you know, he's not on the benefit culture, blah, blah, blah. But he said to me, well, you know, the brilliant thing is if someone turned around and said, well, these people in burqas, how would deaf people be able to see what they're saying? And it would be a very easy way
to do
a kind of woke override of this nonsense. That is nonsense, Kev. We should not be having this in this country.
I think you're right. I mean, bear in mind there's quite a few Muslim countries, Islamic countries that ban the burqa, including Tunisia, so it's not just a European thing. I think we've got to think about this very seriously. I really do. Laura, excellent call. Thank you for ringing, as always. Laura in Wiltshire there. Let's quickly talk to Derek in Manchester. Hello, Derek.
Hello, Kevin. Yeah, I wasn't calling about the burqa. Earlier on, you were talking about apprenticeships.
Yeah. We're big theme of the show, yes.
The King of the North, what he decided on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just something. This was ploughed out years ago, I think it was under the Brown government.
Okay.
And they said they were going to start apprenticeships and all that. What are they going to start apprenticeships with?
Well, that's what, and what for as well, Derek? I mean, how many jobs are there really out there for apprentices?
Yeah, but I mean, when Brown was talking about it, they were talking about giving apprenticeship to people to go and work at places like McDonald's, flipping burgers, for God's sake. Now, you know, I mean,
it's a very skilled job. Very skilled job.
Apprenticeships used to be in engineering, you know, shipbuilding.
Well, shipbuilding, you see, but therein lies the tale. Shipbuilding used to require loads of apprenticeships. There's no shipbuilding anymore. But I don't think that the industrial change or the industrial decline in this country has been noted by our Prime Minister, who still seems to think the country's full of satanic mills and coal mines and factories as far as the eye can see. He's going to wake up one day soon and realise Britain might have changed since his favourite decade, the 1970s. Derek, good call. Got to move on. Show's nearly over. Thank you. That's Derek in Manchester. Peter Cardwell's in the studio. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Kevin. We're actually talking about what you've just been talking to Derek about there. Jimmy's Jobs for the Future, huge podcast. Jimmy McLaughlin has been interviewing the Prime Minister. Jimmy's going to come on and give us a few clips of what he's talked to Andy Burnham about. Do these jobs actually exist? And when we're training people for apprenticeships, will there be a job at the end of it? Similarly to if people pay tens of thousands of pounds for university, will there be there as well? We're also talking about Reform UK, and they are attempting to censure Zach Polanski over this thing that he put on Instagram. We talked about that last night, of course. And there's a very moving video from a swimmer. He's terminally ill. He has brain cancer. He came 7th in a race in the Commonwealth Games.
Oh, did he?
And he's talked about that. It's a really incredible video.
Really? That's amazing.
It's a beautiful video.
Inspirational story.
Just a little 40-second thing where he says it's great to obviously take part in this, but also